Hello and welcome everyone. We are back in the City of Joy. This is the beautiful Dhanodhanyo Auditorium in Kolkata, and it's time for our favorite tournament, the strongest speed chess event of India, Tata Steel Chess India 2026. A warm welcome to all of you. I'm Tanya Sachdev. Alongside me, my very good friend, commentator par excellence, Grandmaster Sahaj Grover. Sahaj, we are back in the City of Joy. We are here. The tournament's about to kick off. Kaisa lag raha hai? How are you feeling right now?
I feel amazing. I feel there is no better way to start the year off.
Yes.
To be in this city, to watch all of these players play. I mean, to be in this atmosphere, it's amazing.
It really is. And this is the 7th edition of Tata Steel Chess India. Started back in 2018. And what a phenomenal tournament this has been. Always with the idea to give a platform to the Indian youngsters to fight against the world's elite. And let's get started. Let's talk about the format of the tournament, because it's going to be 5 days of speed chess. Saj, we start with rapid, 3 days of rapid, a total of 9 rounds. 3 rounds will be played every single day. The time control, 15 minutes. This year, Tata Steel Chess India gets shorter, faster and more furious. 15 minutes with only a 10-second bonus time every time a player presses the clock. If there's a tie, we go into further tie breaks. I have to say that I think this just means more pressure on the players. Previous editions, we had a 25-minute rapid portion. This time we go to 15 minutes. What kind of adjustments are you expecting?
I think it makes sense because rapid should be faster in that sense, and I feel it just brings out the intuitive sense of the players. So for me, I think 15 plus 10 makes a lot more sense than 25 plus 10.
And they're all fresh off from Doha, right? So they've got this huge tournament where they also played very fast time formats, and some of them are here in the field as well. Let's also talk about the schedule that's coming up over the next few days. We've got 3 days of rapid. Once again, today we start first round at 3 p.m. Whatever you're doing, clear your schedule for the next 5 days. You got the best players in town right now in Kolkata. 7th, 8th, 9th of January, you will see the rapid. Then we move on to 2 days of blitz. If you are in Kolkata, you absolutely cannot miss this tournament. You have to be here to watch it live.
And if you're not in Kolkata, then book a flight because you need to be here and watch this tournament, because watching all of these players is always a treat.
And you know, you've set us up perfectly for that, Sahaj, because like you said, we've got the biggest names here at the Dhanodhanyo Auditorium, and our man on the ground, we've got Rakesh Kulkarni breaking it all down for us.
Namaste and welcome to the 2026 Tata Steel Chess India Rapid and Blitz. We have a star-studded lineup and a packed audience, as you can see here in Kolkata. The City of Joy is going to welcome 5-time world champion Vishy sir is making a comeback after 6 years. Remember, he won the Blitz edition in 2018 when the tournament started. Arjun Erigaisi is here fresh from his 2-time bronze medal winners in the World Rapid and Blitz in Doha recently. Wei Yi, who finished runner-up in the World Cup in Goa, is also here. Praggnanandhaa and Wei Yi are the 2 candidates who are going to play in March later. Remember, at Tata Steel Chess India, we also have the women's section here. As you can see behind us on the chessboard, we have a very, very strong lineup here. Aleksandra Goryachkina, who won the World Rapid, is here. She's the defending champion in the Rapid, mind you. And we also have Vaishali, Kateryna Lagno, many stars here in Kolkata. Remember, Tata Steel always gives the same prize fund to the open and the women's section. We are going to be having super fun. 3 rounds of rapid chess coming up. Exciting chess. Back to you guys in the studio. Tanya and Sahaj, take it away.
And how fantastic was that to watch a packed auditorium on day 1 of the Rapid. You know, the players are yet to arrive, but all of Kolkata, they are there right now. And let's also mention, Sahaj, that this entire tournament is a celebration of the game. We also have running alongside Tata Steel Chess India Open and the women, there is another open event going on with some of the strongest grandmasters of the country playing.
Wow, you know, when we walked in, I didn't actually catch the audience, but when I saw them here, it really pumped me up because, I mean, watching this is so cool as a chess player.
It really is, right? Because it also inspires the players to really give us that fighting chess. And that's something that this format really demands when it comes to speed chess.
Absolutely. And it's always more fun to watch Rapid and Blitz because you get to see those blunders, those intuitive decisions that you can't really explain. And yeah, it's very nice breaking that down.
The chills and thrills of speed chess. We can expect a lot of that over the next 5 days. Let's bring up our players, star cast, our big lineup for this year. We start with Tata Steel Chess India men. And Sahaj, we've got the players right there in front of us. Tell me which name stands out to you here.
Well, of course, for me, the name that stands out to me is, of course, there is Vishy sir, the godfather of Indian chess, making a comeback after 2019, I believe, in this event. And of course, then there is the madman, Arjun Erigaisi, coming off of two bronze medals in the World Rapid and Blitz, but also he got a bronze in the GCL as well. So three back-to-back bronze medals for the madman, and he is, by the way, the only Indian to be in top 10 across all formats.
Yes.
So that is huge news for them. These two names for sure, and of course we can never forget Hans. Come on.
I like where your head's at with
Hans, when Hans plays, I feel like he's always a very, very big threat, and I think he could be a favorite as well.
Arjun's been one of the star players of 2025 with his achievements, with how much his world rankings, his rating has been, and like you said, making it across all three formats in world top 10. Some fantastic chess by him, 3 back-to-back bronze medals, 2 in Doha in Rapid and Blitz. So he's definitely looking at that big tournament win. He's also the player who did win the Tata Steel Rapid back in 22. Speaking of Vishy, he played in 2018. He won the championship here in Kolkata. In 2019, it was part of the Grand Chess Tour. And he's come back every year as an ambassador of Tata Steel Chess India. But this time, he'll be on the board. If I have to point out one story, I think for me, it's the third name you took. Hans, for the first time in the event, we know that means entertainment is guaranteed. He's a player who's always looking to prove himself. He's always hungry to show the world, to show his detractors that he's going to let chess speak for itself.
Absolutely, and I like the way you put it, because for Hans, I feel this format, Rapid and Blitz, really suits him well, and this could be, it's a new year, it's a fresh start for everyone, and Hans, he has always been there. Even in the World Rapid, he was right there, but not in the top 3. He was right there in the World Blitz as well, and I feel this could be an event where he actually makes his mark.
I also want to just point out that we've got a former World Rapid champion here in the mix, Volodar Murzin. He won the Rapid Championship last year in 2024, and he'll be fighting it out as well. Nihal Sarin is a last-minute replacement for Gukesh, and I think I'm very excited to see his name right up there. He clearly belongs in this field.
He's such a dangerous replacement. I feel that having Nihal as a replacement is such a cheat code in life, because having Nihal in Blitz and Rapid I think it's one of the craziest things for me. So yeah, I'll be really rooting for Nihal as well in this event, because I feel he is out here, I think, to win the event.
He is known as the Bullet Beast for a reason. So I think this is quite the star cast that we have for this event. A lot of exciting names there to look out for. And if you want to watch them live in action, then definitely come down to the Dhonadhanyo Auditorium over the next 5 days. Also, chat, tell us, who are you most excited to watch? Who do you think will win Tata Steel Chess India Rapid over the next 3 days out of the Starcast that you just saw? There is a giveaway happening, I think, on Chesscom India as well, on their social media channels. So definitely check that out. Let's bring on our women players. Now, this time it's in its 4th edition. And Tata Steel Chess India really set the standard in 2022 when they had their first separate women event, crucially, with an equal prize fund. So really showing that sports gender equality and setting the standards with that. And look at that. We've got the recently crowned World Rapid Champion in Aleksandra Goryachkina and some big names there. Who are you most excited to watch in action?
Well, of course, there is Divya, who I think, for me, she is kind of a favorite, but I just want to bring out one name for everyone over here, and that name is Rakshitta Ravi. And I'm not sure if this is her first time playing this event. I believe it is, but I played her once in 2023, I believe, with the white pieces, and I tried to, just tried to have a good game, and I got crushed with the black pieces, and it was a flawless game by her. So this player, I think, is massively underrated, and I feel she's at least going to make a lot of upsets here, I feel.
I've actually attended a training camp with her in your city, in Budapest, with Judith Polgar. She was there, and I have to say that when it came to finding and spotting those tactics, Rakshita was really on top of her game every single time. And Blitz, rapid is so much about aggressive chess, trying to put that early pressure on your opponent. As you also mentioned, seeing Divya back here in action, she had a fantastic 2025. She's a double Olympic gold medalist on her individual board as well as the team one, played a big role in Budapest again for that. And of course, her World Cup win, that was phenomenal to watch. Goa World Cup was a little disappointing. She had a first round exit, but incredible stuff to be part of it already for Divya. And I think she wants to make her mark here. She is the winner of Tata Steel Chess India Rapid in 2023.
Absolutely. And let's not forget that phenomenal performance she had in the FIDE Grand Swiss last year.
Yes.
Where I was completely speechless, going through her matches back to back, especially against Gukesh, where she held on that position for 7 hours with the black pieces against the world champion. I think that was beautiful to see.
Chat, it's your turn. We've spoken about which of the players we're excited about. You tell us, who are you rooting for in the men and the women section of Tata Steel Chess India? And in about 3 minutes, we will have the first moves come on. I think we're just waiting for the players to walk in soon. They usually do that in those last few seconds to get locked into the zone.
While the players do that, Tanya, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but do you have a favorite in the open section and in the women's section? If you could say one name.
The one thing that I've learned, during my commentary career is that as a commentator, it's just best to stay as neutral as possible. But I will say that in my heart, I really want to see Vishy do incredibly well here. He comes back to Tata Steel Chess India as a player this time. He was called the Lightning Kid for all the right reasons, of course. He's a legend of the game, and I'm a huge Vishy fan. So
absolutely, and I completely agree with you. And also, he's pretty warmed up as well after the Global Chess League, because he was playing on the Icon board, and so many top games. He defeated Gukesh. I think that can really set him up for a great event here.
And not once, he defeated him twice. He had quite a result with him, and so looking forward to see the action that Vishy brings on the board. Let's bring on our pairings, our matchups that we've got in the first round that's coming up. We're just a few moments away from liftoff here, and there we have it in front of us. Sahaj, which one catches your attention here?
I think it has to be Vishy versus Wesley. That's, I think, a huge one. And of course, Arjun playing against Vidit is a huge one as well for me. And what strikes to you? By the way, Arvind playing against Pragg, two players who have worked with each other for a very long time, about 15 years or so. There's literally a picture of Pragg on Arvind's back, literally on a piggyback. Literally,
I've seen it. I've seen it. And I think it was clicked by their coach Ramesh. So definitely go find that on the internet if you haven't seen it already. And I love that call out that you give to it. I've actually seen them at training camps at the Chola Chess Academy, which Ramesh is a huge part of. And they work together. They're incredibly good friends. They know each other really well. And I think we're getting an update that the players have started coming one by one. And the first one to arrive is Harika. There on the stage, and look at that auditorium. It's early here in the afternoon in Kolkata with players. People are filling in to root, and let's remind everyone there's also another open event going on.
Absolutely. And by the way, we should also take a look at the women's pairings as well, as Harika sits on the board, and there we have it in front of us. Tanya, which match appeals to you the most here?
It's got to be the top right matchup, right? It's the all-Indian clash. Harika's already there. Divya will arrive soon. I think Divya versus Harika, it's a generational clash of Indian women chess. They've been teammates. They're rivals. They also have history from the World Cup. Divya had knocked out Harika in the Women World Cup. So there's definitely a bit of a grudge match here for Harika. And knowing her, I think she wants to show, you know what? I know how strong you are, but I am still the boss of Indian women chess.
Absolutely, and no better way to show that. And by the way, for me, also there's a match between Rakshita and Goryachkina, who I believe is a favorite in this event, because she is, when it comes to faster formats, I think she's one of the best players. So Rakshita being the underdog, going against Goryachkina will also be a fun match to see. So overall, fun fact, day one.
I love it. And it's going to go really quick, right, chat? Because we've got only 15 minutes with a 10-second increment. It's back-to-back games. We've got 3 games coming up. The players, by the way, have a beautiful lounge here, Sahaj. I don't know if you've checked it out. It's super nice. And I have to give a shout out to our amazing studio as well, which looks incredible. So the organizers, Game Plan, have done a great job. And there we've got on the screen, the players are arriving. Do you think there's something to be said for the women players to be the first to come on stage?
I think they are a bit more punctual. Maybe.
I like that. The ones on time here. Is that?
Or maybe the bus didn't arrive, yeah? For the open session. That's also
I'm
possible.
going to go with your punctual theory. Oh, and there we see.
There's Wei Yi.
There's Wei Yi. And he kind of likes playing in India, right? He had a fantastic. In fact, I bumped into him in the lift and I told him, I was like, the amount of time you've been spending in India, maybe it's time to pick up a place here. He's played 3 tournaments, pretty much back to back over the last 2.5 months, starting from his run at the World Cup, where he finished second, qualified for the candidates. So clearly fell in love with India right there. Then he was here in Mumbai for the Global Chess League, which just finished about 10 days ago, and he's back now.
And he finished second there as well,
Yes.
by the way. So it's been a great run for him so far, going into this. And Wei Yi, he's also a candidate now, so this will be good practice for him as well going into the match. The players are ready. We'll have liftoff very, very soon. Tanya, which match is the most exciting to you?
Just all across, I love this scene that we have in front of us, capturing the entire arena right there. There we see Nihal. He's just walked in. He's playing his first game against Wei Yi. I mean, that one promises to be an absolute thriller. For Nihal, when it comes to speed chess, he can take down just about anyone in the world.
Oh, absolutely. I think Nihal, again, as a replacement, it's just a cheat code for me. I think he's just too good. And there it is. Hans has just sat down on the board, adjusting his pieces. Players are ready. Oof. This is... Oh, there it is. The jacket is off, Tanya. Let's go.
You know how we say, oh, the gloves come off when the fight is on? In chess, when the jackets come off, the players are totally locked in there. And I think we're going to have... There we have India's second Grandmaster, Dibendu Barua. He's the tournament director this year. And I think we're going to have the clocks started by him. He makes the first move, the ceremonial move, as the Grandmaster. Wesley there with a smile. He starts with the King's Pawn opening. This might be Vishy's choice as well against Wesley.
I think Vishy has been going for e4 throughout, even in GCL. Every single game, I believe he was playing e4. So I think he's going to go with the same. We have liftoff and he goes for e4. Once again, let's go. And Caro Khan on the board, Tanya. Interesting.
Caro Kanya. Can you do it? Well, it is Wesley's choice of opening there. We see an advanced variation by Vishy. He doesn't do the traditional trade at the center.
Absolutely advanced. He goes bishop f5 and now knight to d2. So this is short variation, but from a different angle. Yeah, usually you go knight to f3, but here he goes knight to d2, and now he's going to put his knight to b3. And the idea is you don't want to allow your opponent to play c5 that quickly, as he goes knight f3 now.
The moves are coming in fast and quick here. And we see that White has managed to get a bit of space. For Wesley, it's going to be trying to get a central break in. He does it immediately. He's got c5 as quickly as possible here. Still pretty much within the realms of theory here.
Absolutely. And the bar usually says that White is better. But when you wait and you analyze it a bit more in depth, then usually the bar goes down to equality. So it's all about how well prepared Wesley here is. As he goes bishop takes c5. Wait, usually you go knight takes c5 here, right?
You don't want to give up your bishop pair so quickly. Vishy is famously known to love his knights. It's something that he absolutely adores on the board. Every player has a bishop bias, but I think Vishy has a bit of a knight bias, and he's inviting Vishy to give up his beloved knight. He does get the bishop pair very early on, and a beautiful square on d4 to eventually plant one of his pieces.
Absolutely, and look at those dark squares. I'm just eyeing that d6 square down. If my bishop can somehow jump there, it would be amazing. But okay, that's fictional at this point. But still, dark squares look a bit shaky for Wesley here.
So Wesley taking big risks. All right, we'll come back to this. Let's jump over to the all-Indian clash between Arjun and Vidit and get an update on that board, Sehaj. And we had a King's Pawn opening in this as well. I'll just do a quick action replay.
It's the Italian with bishop c4. He goes bishop to c5, best by test, c3. Trying for that d4, but then he says, no, I'm going to go with the traditional d3 approach. Very solid, positional. Black goes d6. And now short castle, and now he does not go short castle, he's delaying it. He goes a6 and White plays a4, stopping that b5 push from the black side, and then he retreats his bishop back to a7. And now, Tanya, there's a very interesting point here that White can almost never play h3 in this position. And that's because Black can go h6 and g5. So you have to wait for Black to castle, and now I think Arjun will play something like h3 because there's no h6 g5 and that kingside attack incoming anymore.
Yeah, that's a great point you make, that otherwise h3 would give a hook for black to actually go for an early kingside attack. So both players very alert with their pawn moves here in the Italian. It's one of those openings that I think has, I don't know how many millions of games in the database, and yet it's so rich. It's not something that's been fully discovered or solved like so many of the chess openings. It's very hard to say that, black equalizes with a clear path, because white always has these small switch ups, delaying h3, rushing or not rushing with a4, waiting with the d4 move. The bishop, does it stay on c4 or does it retreat?
Absolutely. I mean, because Italian is so deep and so rich in nature that even if you have prepared it so much, there are such small nuances that you can always improve upon. I believe it is the opening of the year for me, because in World Cup we saw so many of these. In Global Chess League we saw so many of these, and even in World Rapid and Blitz, this was one of the most played openings.
I think that's true for the Italian with pretty much every single tournament at the top level, at all levels we get to see, and that just speaks volumes of just how timeless the Caico Piano, the Italian, the slow game is. And here we've got our scenes coming in. Vidit and Arjun locked into battle. Right behind them, I spot Praggnanandhaa. Is that a cue for us to switch to his game against Arvind, the two good friends?
Let's take a quick look, because they have been making a lot of draws in the past, and I feel there is a win incoming here, and I would love to see who's gonna come out on the other side here. As he goes Bishop F5, I believe this is Caro-Kann again, Tanya.
That's the second Caro-Kann of the day here. So it looks like it's becoming the opening of Tata Steel Chess India. Sahaj, if you just take us through the opening moves.
So he plays e4, c6, d4, d5, and I believe he takes on d5, takes, bishop goes to, knight f3, knight c6, and c3.
And here the bishop came out.
Interesting. c3 is an interesting move, because generally you want to put your bishop on d3 here. So he delays that. Most likely Arvind wants to put his bishop on b5 instead, and that's why he's making room with c3 to get his queen out on the queen side as well, with queen a4 or queen b3, something like that.
Arjun is one of the very creative players on the board. He's always looking for a fight. He's always ready for a battle as early as on as he can get it. So I think this is one of those approaches by him. I'm also expecting the move queen to jump over to attack that soft pawn on b7. All right, so early days in this one.
Absolutely, but Tanya, look at the time difference between these two players. Pragg having 15 minutes and 20 seconds and Arvind at 11 minutes and 20 seconds. That's a huge difference.
Wow. And it's pretty early in the day for that, for an almost 4-minute margin there. All right, so let's continue our tour around the Dhonadhanya auditorium here. And we'll move on to Wei Yi versus Nihal. We were talking about Arvind jumping out with the queen. On Wei Yi's board, he already has the queen there, attacking the b7 pawn right now.
Oh, yes, and then he defends it with rook a7, very fancy. And now I think it is up to Wei Yi. How is he going to continue forward? I like rook c1 just to develop and, keep things developed on the queen side. But I'm not sure what is the way forward for black here. Are you just wanting to just take your bishop out and castle?
I also want to talk about this move rook a7, because I know that we are used to it, but for many watching, this is such a surprising position to place your rook in. And one of the ways in which black is actually looking to find that into play later on can also be via the 7th rank once the b pawn moves ahead.
Wow, that's a great point. And also, I think you couldn't play the queen. I mean, firstly, you have to defend the pawn on d7 somehow, right? You couldn't put it on d7 because the knight can jump to e5 and attack. You couldn't place the queen on the c file anywhere, because then my rook will go on the c file and then put an x-ray along the queen. So, and I'm still not sure why b5 is not possible, but rook a7, I really like that idea of getting that rook into activity through that 7th rank, Tanya.
Later on, that would be the dream. And Wei Yi, meanwhile, he's looking back. He's looking back at Hans's board. And I think that's the moment that we jump to that. We follow where Wei shows us the way.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Actually, it's one of my favorite openings. It's the one that I started playing as a kid. We have the French defense in front of us. I believe it's d4, d5, and then he goes knight to c3, and black plays knight f6. The Steinitz defense, as they call it. White goes f4, c5.
Starts looking very aggressive early on this opening. I've always liked it with white. I know that you have a soft spot for it with the black pieces.
I have played so many games in this opening. I still don't know with which color do I like it more. White goes bishop e3, and he develops with a6, queen d2, so far we are still in mainstream theory. It's very important to not castle on the long side because black can play c4 and attack on the
Very quick.
yeah, very, very quick. So you have to play either you castle on the short side with bishop e2 exactly, or you just chop that pawn off with on c5. He goes knight d1. I think he's making his intentions clear. He wants to play c3 at the right time, and that's why his opponent just went b4, by the way. And I think he also wants to castle on the short side.
It's very interesting because c3 would allow a consolidation of the center, and that's usually the white idea here. But it just feels like Murzin is super fast in this position on the queen side. You know, the pawns have moved ahead. Feels like it's sort of divided into two halves, this position, where white is going to focus attention on the right flank. For black, it's all about activity on the queen side. Usually it starts looking more scary wherever the king is. Ideas of g4, f5, is that something that white eventually wants to aim at?
Absolutely. I think I want to throw f5 at the right moment. Maybe even without g4, I will just go f5 and just sack the pawn and see, you know, what sticks in the position. But right now, I think there's right now I just want to castle, maybe play knight f2 or just castle and then prepare eventually for the move f5. But you are absolutely right. Murzin is playing really quickly here because the time difference is around what, 5 minutes already. So two big opening surprises.
Our chat is saying Hans with a haircut gambit. That is a new haircut that Hans has on, coming in with a fresh look. Quite a fresh position as well on the board. You also have the option to just get your king to castle and then start pushing. I think this is really going to be about which side breaks first. Murzin going for the queen side, Hans for the king side, but he has to pace up. He has to start moving fast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't want to be down 5 minutes on the first round itself. It sets the, you know, wrong kind of rhythm, you know, for the game. I think you want to play a bit fast because it's rapid. Start trusting your intuition. Play something short castle, knight f2. I think any of these moves will work really well in this position.
And I'm surprised that he's taking so long. He's making a decision, and this is why he was taking this while, because he goes for a very committal move here. He's going for an all-out battle. You know, we were talking about queen side, king side. He's focusing in the center.
Wow, and I think that's a very interesting move, and you can see by Volodar's his posture that he did not expect this move. And the problem is that you cannot capture the pawn either ways. Yeah, if you capture dc4, then hello, d5, and suddenly the center just falls apart for black. And if you go c takes d4, I just don't even like. I don't know why I don't like it, but I know I don't like it.
With the bishop lined up against the queen, you take with the knight, and then you're looking at some ideas there coming in with a lot of tempo.
Exactly. Maybe b takes c3. You have to en passant. Yeah, I mean it's a rule. If your opponent gives you the en passant, you just do it.
A streamer's favorite move. You know, Hans, he streams a little bit himself, but you're suggesting that the safest approach might be just to go pawn takes pawn. But then I also will argue for Hans here that you do get that consolidated d4 square. Not just that, I can see in the future that even though it looks like that black is capturing the only open file, it feels like white will be the first to eventually win it. Once you go castle, the knight comes out, the rook landing on b1, it might be a battle that goes in white's favor.
It could.
In just a few moves.
It very well could, but I think then you just want to maybe you just want to consolidate on the b file more. Maybe rook b8, and if white plays rook b1, you just take that rook.
I won't be surprised if he reroutes his bishop. The idea is just to get that rook to b1 and start taking control of it. So not an easy decision for Murzin in this one. Hans asking some early questions.
Absolutely. And did you catch that stare that he just gave to Murzin after c4? I think he feels confident about his position.
You know, when you take that much time, as much as Hans took, you need to come up with a move like that.
Exactly.
He's seen the packed audience right in front of him, and it's the kind of move that we all want to watch. And I don't know if we saw a full screen of the view that everybody has. They obviously have these amazing players in front of them, but there are also the boards right at the back. Even the players can turn around and look at the big screen to see what's happening on the other boards. There we catch Lenny there. He is one of the absolute best photographers. He's helping with all the DGT action here in Kolkata. Hans looking like he's pleased with himself. A decision on the board. He does take the d4 pawn.
I think decent decision. Now the question is, with what should we capture back? I think the knight makes a lot of sense. You want to keep your dark bishop in this position. If black captures the knight, we'll capture it back with our bishop. And he does it.
I think we're going to see this, and then an eventual bishop to c5 to block that attack on the queen, and just to make sure that that bishop, that beautiful bishop in d4, doesn't stay there for too long.
True, but Tanya, I have a question for you. are you not getting an isolated queen pawn here? So if I take the bishop, you capture back, and then I capture the pawn on d5, and suddenly you have a weakness. I don't know if this is good enough.
Are you going to take it twice? Are you going to be...
No, of course
But
not.
I want to show the idea that I had, because after this, I just thought I'd put my bishop on b7. I have this beautiful development. Your king is still in the center. Wherever you make a move, I go castle next, and I'm arguing that my piece activity is amazing. White can never castle because of discovered checks with the knight.
Absolutely, and the g2 pawn is also falling at the same time as well. I mean, so many problems. I think the pawn on d5 is just a weakness. You want to keep it for as long as possible. You want to put pressure on it for as long as possible. So I think I would expect something like that from Hans here. But for now, he has to make a decision. And I think this is a simple one. Yeah, just take the bishop.
I don't see another move here. What Hans is calculating is what happens after the trade. Bishop takes bishop. I think queen takes bishop. There's also an argument to be made for that as well. You centralize the queen. You protect your central pawn. Although knight takes bishop was just incredibly tempting. We'll come back to this to see Hans's decision. But in fact, the decision has been made. The trades have happened. Let's move on to another board. Let's go back to...
I think let's go back to the game of Vishy versus
Yes, let's
Wesley,
do it.
because look at Wesley's bishop. Wait a second. What happened here? That bishop looks monstrous.
You're talking about this huge piece at the center of the board, which even if you trade that bishop, there will be a huge pawn that will take its space.
Exactly. Is this problem for Vishy? I think it is, no?
You know, Wesley took that decision to give up a bishop pair early on. Vishy, he makes a rook lift right now. That rook is aiming to get to perhaps b4 and then play on the dark squares which are unchallenged currently.
So rook b4, rook b6, just to kick the queen away. But still, that bishop, how? I mean, and at some point, I think he's going to throw g5 as well, and then it's going to look really scary for Vishy.
You're picking black here. You think Wesley is happy and pleased with his position?
I mean, it's still early days. Also, Vishy has a slight time advantage as well, so maybe a bit early to say, but I do like black's position more for sure.
I hear you, but I also feel Vishy's position is incredibly healthy. I'm just going to make some cases for his. You know, there are all these dark square weaknesses we're pointing out. The a5 pawn, it's really making a case on the queen side for clamping black's position there. You have a sole bishop that you're relying on currently. There isn't much of an assist that's there right now. The bishop can land on b6. I also see eventual ideas of going with my rook to d2, doubling down on the d5 pawn, and eventually trying to get rid of the bishop. It just feels to me, Saj, that Vishy's position is very healthy to be worried about something in White's camp here.
I think that's fair, but there are other pieces that are contributing to Wesley's position as well. Like for example, the knight on e6. It's a beautiful piece. Can you sort of being on that outpost, putting some pressure on the f4 pawn and the d4 pawn, and at some point Wesley is going to throw f6, and once he throws f6, that rook is going to come out to f6, rook is going to go to g6 and put pressure on the g2 pawn. I don't know, I feel like it's a good position, but I find it difficult to make progress from Vishy's perspective.
So you're saying I'm being wishful about Vishy's position here? All right, we'll come back to this. By the way, Vishy blitzing out with the bishop coming in, attacking the queen. The queen finds a safe spot on e7. I want to go to our women's tournament. Some huge matchups happening there. Let's do a quick roundup of the games there, then we will come back to this. And I want to start with the board that you had highlighted earlier with Rakshita taking on Goryachkina.
Yep, there we have it. This is the current position. Some trades have happened. I believe she's taken back with the rook. And now looking kind of equalish, maybe a slight preference to black's position because her rook is slightly more active.
I also want to add to that, there is some, weaknesses that can be targeted on the queen side. And the moment White tries to consolidate it, I think Goryachkina is beautifully set up to go a4 to open up lines. So I'm expecting her to put more pressure on the b2 pawn. Right now, currently after the trade, c2 is hanging as well. I think draw is the most likely outcome in this position though. But Goryachkina, I've known her for many, many years. She's gonna make Rakshita sweat for that draw.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm not sure if draw is likely because she is going to press so much. Because if you play c3, a4 is such a big problem, and then the b2 pawn becomes an issue. With b3, as you highlighted, same problem with a4 as well. So the problem is you have to keep your pawns at bay. Maybe play something like rook d2. But how long are you going to keep your position like that? You have to improve at some point, and then you give yeah, then you give away some weaknesses. So I'm not so sure if I like Rakshita's position so far here.
All right, so we'll come back to this, Rakshita, and a little bit of a pressure here. Let's go to the all-Indian face-off with Divya taking on Harika in the very first round here at the auditorium here. And early days in this position, clocks are pretty much level. I want to add both players mirroring each other right now on our cameras.
I think difficult position to say who is better here. I mean, optically, I think Divya's position looks a bit better because she has pawns on e4 and d4. They are on the center. She's grabbing more space there. And also with the knight coming to f1, that's her previous move highlighted on the screen. White can go knight g3 and maybe put some pressure on the king side as well. And for Harika, I'm not sure where is that counter play coming from, because generally when you play these positions, you want to sort of make a counter play on the queen side somehow, but where is that coming from? Are you going to play b5? Then what?
Yeah, it's a great question. And usually in these positions, black equalizes. For Harika, she has to look for also maybe activity at the center of the board. It looks very dangerous, but I wonder if d5 is also something that's on the cards for her to just try to neutralize. But I can see her hand hovering over the bishop. Maybe she's hinting at that move. She develops the bishop. Maybe d5 is an idea that she's looking at. Or is it the more cautious c5 to open up her own bishop and block the bishop on a3? c5 or d5? What's on Harika's mind here?
She goes knight g3, by the way.
We're going to find out.
She doesn't play any of those. Wow, okay, now it's clear. She played g6 because I think with the move d5, you were opening up that Spanish bishop on c2. And I think that whole diagonal. And now I think with Harika's last move, she blocked that. And I think she's aiming for the d5 break. Nice find there, Danya.
She also stops the idea. Neither Divya does Divya things. It's h4 on the board. You know, for Divya, I've noticed you give her one opportunity to push that h-pawn, especially with a hook like g6, you know, which is just inviting the move h5. And this is what Divya wants. She's not giving Harika the time to strike in the center, Sahaj.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And now the problem is that either you allow h5,
yes,
which is going to be a huge problem, or you play h5 yourself and then the g5 square becomes weak. And what did she play? She played c5, I believe.
She does, and the bar does not like it. c5, a committal move by Harika, and I think the reason for that is also, Sahaj, because here there's a possibility that white simply closes the center and completely shifts focus on the king side.
Exactly. They say that you should break the center when you're facing a flank attack, but this is the opposite. Yeah, now Divya has a golden opportunity to close the center and then launch the attack on the king side, and suddenly Harika's position looks very, very suspicious.
I think, Sahaj, Divya might also be just thinking of striking immediately with h5, but I like the more cautious approach. Block the center first, take away all the breaks, and then eventually even reroute the dark square bishop to another diagonal. And basically, Harika, all her pieces are on the queen side. The queen is there, the rook is there, the bishop placed on b7. You're putting in this h5 idea in. I'm really liking Divya's chances here.
Would you play h5 or d5 here?
Very tough. I think I would be more inclined to play d5, but that's more me stylistically. I want things under control. Divya is the queen of chaos. She does go for d5.
Wow, you guys are completely in sync there. And I think she's also looking at that h5 square. And by the way, Harika allows it. She goes bishop g7.
It's coming. She's gonna go for h5.
Has to, right? It has to.
She's set up for this, right? She played h4. This is really the moment. You don't care about it. That's a sacrifice. It's a gambit, but is anyone brave enough to capture that h-pawn?
Not me for sure. I think no ways that you're going to capture that pawn on h5. I think even g5 looks really risky because that square on f5 becomes weak. And my knight can just jump there. So your only option is that you keep the pawn on g6, which is not healthy. It's never healthy.
The only case that I can make for Harika's position here is that I'm expecting her to now divert her entire attention to the A line. And all right, she waits first. Divya doesn't rush with h5. She brings her bishop out. And I just want to finish this point, Sash, that I think for Harika to try to trade pieces, she doesn't have space. Rook a8, double up on the A file, try to get as many trades in as possible is the plan that I think is very Harika-esque in nature.
I think that makes a lot of sense as well. But then you also have to accept that, okay, the position is maybe slightly worse for you. And I'm not sure if Harika has accepted that yet. Maybe she's still trying to launch that attack on queen side. Maybe with b5 at some point, yeah? You see, that's why Divya played bishop d3, because she wanted to stop b5 from Harika.
She stopped the idea. This is prophylactic. And she says h5, you're never going to stop it with your own h-pawn, giving me the g5 square.
Okay, good. Oh no, I was thinking something like knight takes d5 and just completely let's have chaos on the board. But maybe that's too much, yeah?
You want to give up your knight for 2 pawns?
Oh, I was thinking about it. Yeah, stakes, bishop takes, and I don't know if this is working because bishop g6 have bishop f3. But then bishop
then
f7.
bishop takes pawn. A calculation to be done in these lines, but I think it's just unnecessary and it's too committal at the moment. I can't imagine Harika giving up material just yet. She's not that desperate in this position right now to go for something as chaotic. Let's move our attention back to our Tata Steel Chess India open section right now. Saj, by the way, we do have a decision by Divya. Meanwhile, she's gone h5. The board is from Vishy versus Wesley. And we see the rook did land on b4, tying down Wesley's queen. Your g5 idea was played.
Exactly. So he has gone for g5. Wesley is going for the win with the black pieces, and that bishop on e4 is just majestic. I mean, there's nothing. You just cannot do anything about that bishop ever. You just have to capture it, and then black captures back with the d pawn, and suddenly there is a whole pawn chain on the king side.
I love what Rajiv Kumar is pointing out. Vishy being 55 and still being competitive is amazing. I think Vishy's longevity is one of the biggest parts about his greatness.
Absolutely. I mean, you couldn't. I mean, also playing in GCL, defeating Gukesh. I mean, all of those things. I mean, wow. I mean, you just cannot. No one can do that. He goes bishop e3, by the way, attacking the g5 pawn.
Just want to make a case for that bishop because it's really the MVP in Wesley's position. The point is that you can get rid of it, but then there'll be a big pawn that will take its place. And, that'll be a huge passer. Also, Vishy's e5 pawn long-term weak right now.
Oh, yes. So maybe something like rook. I want to slide that rook to h6 somehow and, create an attack on the king side. But I also like just simply knight e6. Simple.
I see it, and your grandmaster mind was already into this position. He stops one move short, but now there's a big threat on the board. The queen is free to start targeting e5 as well at the right point. g5 is defended. Also, watch out for f4. If the g line opens up, the black rook is lined up against the king.
You can move the king away, put the other rook on g8 as well, and then play f4. I mean, so many nice moves here.
I'm still thinking about Rajiv's chat there about Vishy, and I want to also point out that in the Total World Chess Championship, Vishy's name is also announced as one of the players. So I think it's amazing that we get to see the legend on the board so much. Back in action, he was at the Global Chess League. Now he's in Kolkata. He'd be in the Total World Championship.
Wow, playing so much chess. I mean, this is Vishy 2.0.
I think Vishy's evolved so much in his chess career over the last 4 decades, more than 4 decades, that I don't even know what version this is, but every version has been right at the top.
Absolutely. And now Vishy is thinking the time is more or less balanced between these two players.
Yes, and I want to say one position that looks absolutely not balanced is Wei Yi versus Nihal Sarin. Let's quickly jump to that board because somebody's about to get checkmated, Sahaj.
And it is not Nihal. Because look at that pawn on h5. I think
it's not Nihal. I was thinking that if somebody's about to get checkmated in the position, it's got to be Black's king.
Oh, yes. He goes g takes h5.
Very brave, opening up the h line.
Rook takes h5, and is he just busted here?
I mean, it looks. Look at all of Black's army. That's all targeted towards Wei Yi's king, which is super safe. Sahaj, you are into the position. What's going on?
Bishop h7 check. Is it working? Is it working? I think it's working.
Okay, moment of truth. Bishop h7.
It's working.
Right?
Go.
Bishop h7.
King takes rook check, and the other rook slides to h1, and it's checkmate in 1.
And king g6. I think you don't survive this. Knight f4.
Oof. King f5 g6 must be a mate.
Okay, there has to be a mate in this position.
Let's find it.
It can be. I mean, if nothing else, you just bring your queen back, right? Black is forced to give up the knight and or queen d3, whatever you want.
Absolutely.
So this is completely busted. If not king to g6 and your idea of king g8, then the rook slides over.
This kind of reminds me of that game of...
And it's game over. f6, you just block the runaway with g6.
Exactly.
And checkmate. Yes, Sahaj.
Yeah, you remember that game of Dubov and Nihal where he plays queen h5? It's a very famous video where he goes queen h5 and he takes, and then bishop takes h7 as a mate. It's very picturesque because
I have to look this up.
In that game also, the bishop h7 was a move.
And look at Wei Yi.
He's going for it.
I think he goes for this. I think he's about to play it. He's about to play this stunning bishop h7. Sahaj, what a spot, by the way.
Bishop h7
when Wei Yi's leaned in like that and he hasn't immediately captured that pawn, it's about to happen.
We know it. We know it's happening. He has seen it, and I think Nihal has also seen it. That's why he's looking on the other side of the board, yeah.
And the problem is, even if you slide your king, then rook takes pawn comes in with double power.
Oh, yes.
Your rook is already lined up against the black king.
Wait, is this officially lost after bishop h7 check, Tanya? Is that the case here? Or do you think there are still...
Nihal
there
is
still
so
some hope?
sneaky, and again, it's not over till the last move is played on the chessboard. But Wei Yi doesn't mess up this position. I'm going to say yes. I think if Wei Yi plays bishop h7, Nihal doesn't come out of this.
I think I completely agree with you. It's almost unbelievable how he's going. It just doesn't feel real. Oh, he goes rook h5. He does not does not go for bishop h7 check. Sigh of relief, I think, for Nihal, because now he can play g6 and block that bishop.
He definitely has to be breathing again right now. He immediately blocks that bishop, hits that rook, and a huge shout out. We've got 5,000 people watching us live across channel, watching the Tata Steel Chess India. It is awesome. If any of you are in Kolkata, please come down to the auditorium. What an experience that is. And like this stream, spread the word. Let more people watch this incredible action here unfold. This is such an amazing tournament for Indian chess.
Absolutely.
Serge, just this platform, just the legacy of it.
It's my favorite tournament, I think, to watch.
You say that in every commentary that you do
For
for
this
every
one,
tournament.
it's my favorite event in the sense that it's a favorite format for me because you have rapid and blitz both, and I think we need more of that, yeah?
I completely agree with you, but I will say though, I've heard that line before from you. That's what you said.
That's because last year I said it at this event.
I think it was right here in
Yes,
Kolkata when I
exactly.
heard it last from you. So,
Nice save.
so given. But no, this is such an exciting moment. And I want to point out that Tata Steel Chess India is like, it's the brother to Tata Steel Chess Vaikanze, the rapid and blitz version. Of course, wanting to build that legacy just like the Wimbledon of chess has over so many years. So again, everyone watching, like the stream, spread the word, and keep enjoying the show with us. All right, so he goes for another plan. He's thinking about doubling up on the H line to find a way in on the H file. That would be very powerful. Rook H1, Rook H8, Rook H7, checkmate.
Yeah, I think Nihal right now is just is
But
so
can you
happy.
just take, Serge, he's just like, I would have resigned 5 seconds ago.
Wow. But okay, after bishop g5, I think you were saying after rook h1, there is bishop f6, I believe?
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Just drop your bishop back, defend H8, and keep things under control.
Yeah, but if I'm facing Wei Yi and Wei Yi is, sort of looking at the board like this, I think that I'm missing something. So I'm going to recheck my lines again and again to see what did I miss.
I can't believe Wei Yi didn't play bishop h7. By the way, Nihal, going for the defense that we were discussing right now, you need your dark squared bishop on that fianchetto diagonal to defend your king. That is your defensive plan. But Serge, the drawback can be that now Wei Yi's attention might switch to the G line.
Oh, so it was a poisoned pawn, and suddenly you can go bishop takes g6 at the right moment. But right now, there is that pawn on e3 hanging. So he goes rook h1, threatening that check on h8 and potential checkmate ideas. And now
I think he's going to drop back with the bishop. You want to defend that square.
he has to, right? Bishop f6 is the only move here. I don't see any other move here for Nihal.
Nihal with a side eye there.
Absolutely. By the way, not much time remaining for either of these players. 2 minutes for Wei Yi and 4 minutes for Nihal.
We've got Nihal, who's the bullet beast. I also want to point out, it's kind of really fun to say lightning kid for Vishy, but that was his moniker back in the day. He's got about a 4-minute lead against Wesley So on the clock, by the way. And the position is level. Do you want to take a quick jump in on that?
Absolutely. Let's take a look and see what happened there.
Crazy position.
Wait. D4, is that what Wesley played? Just sacrificing the pawn? Wow, that is very, very
Voluntarily. Queen D3 was played, attacking the D5 pawn. And at this moment, Wesley says, I don't care about that weakness. It's better gone than on the board. Bishop takes pawn. And Wesley to move. But I kind of like Vishy's position right now. Looks like a healthy extra pawn to me.
I don't think... Wait. That was a blunder by Wesley for some reason. Wait, g takes f4, knight f4? Wait, is that e6 check?
Pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn, e6, and I think... Okay, Vishy, he's sensing something. Let's see what...
He takes it.
He does it. It's the right approach. And he comes in with a queen. And look at that, Serge. It is the best move in the position.
Wow. I think...
Vishy is in with a crushing advantage on the board and the clock. But 1 second. Knight takes rook. Is it your idea e6 then?
I think the rook on c8 is hanging. Perhaps, I mean, that's just a safety net for me. If e6 doesn't work, then I take
Just
the rook
take
on
it.
c8.
I love it.
Yeah, and then e6 check can be very dangerous because b7 pawn also, is hanging it.
So it's actually a double attack. I think he missed this move. Did you see that Wesley's
Yes.
reaction? He completely missed it. Because Sahaj, until you pointed out the rook is hanging, I had forgotten about that rook.
Absolutely.
And I think so did Wesley.
And I think that move e6 check, the move that I looked at first, that was a distraction here, because when the knight moves away from the e6 square, you're automatically thinking, let me give this check and see what happens.
And it's too late to put the knight back because now white simply captures another pawn. And let's do the math. That's 2 extra pawns and it's white who's on the attack on that black king, on Wesley's king. Vishy, can he put the finishing touches to this game? I'll quickly bring up our live board. Wrong game. Getting the right one up. This is where we are, Sahaj. Queen f5. What a find. Full board alertness by Vishy. LPDO, loose pieces drop off.
Wow. Nice one there. And by the way, 5-minute advantage as well for Vishy there. I mean, he's winning on the board and on the clock as well. I think I think he's going to convert this. Yeah, very difficult for Wesley to make a comeback here. What do you say?
I think he does it. Vishy will not mess this advantage up. He's already up a pawn. There's no attack on the white king. And I think queen f5 was the point that Wesley missed when he sacrificed d4. When he gave up his d pawn, he had seen the idea of the f pawn moving forward. But what he missed was this last move by Vishy. And the good news for all Vishy fans, which is pretty much everyone in the chat, I'm sure, is that Vishy has enough time to work out the calculation. Wesley now down to a minute.
Absolutely. And by the way, there is this nice tactic in the position as well. This queen h4, where Wesley can say, you were attacking my rook. You can take that rook if you want. But of course you shouldn't, because there is queen e1 checkmate. But you can capture the knight on f4 instead, and that sadly guards the f1 square as well. So no tactics.
Check.
He makes a move. He goes knight h3 check.
All right, so he saves one of the pieces with a check, which is going to simply slide the king. And the problem is, it wasn't just a double attack. It was a triple attack on the knight, on the rook, and the g pawn.
Oh yes. I think now both king h1 and king f1 should, I think, work for Vishy. But he's trying to work it out which one.
Chat, get hyped. I think Vishy might be the first to get a first round win right now.
That's awesome. He goes king f1, I think. Yeah, played.
So no back rank ideas?
The only sort of downside here is black can play rook f6, but okay, that's not possible because the queen is not, because there is a pawn on e5 guarding that square on f6.
The rook is attacked, the pawn is attacked, e6 a huge threat on the board. How is Wesley going to keep his chances alive? He's looking for tricks right now.
Yeah. And I think he's trying to find a way where he doesn't lose another pawn, because g4 or b7, one of them will hang here for sure. Because I was thinking something like queen e6. Then I just take the queen and I just take the pawn on b7 as well.
Yeah, you go into a winning endgame.
Completely.
Arrows are wonky because I'm getting excited about this position.
Oh yes, this is completely busted, I think, for Wesley. Wait, 25 seconds?
Wesley needs to make a move. Wesley's been a regular here at Tata Steel Chess India. He comes every year, and I think this, he was playing ambitiously this position. So it's really not the start that he wanted. He does make a decision.
He goes rook to g8. And I think he's trying to double down on the g file and try to put some pressure, maybe find a hiding spot for the king, on f8. But my question is, can I go just rook takes g4 and just capture the pawn? It's a free pawn. Let's just take it. I feel like you can, because if I go rook g4, you can capture my rook. I capture back with my queen, and suddenly your knight on h3 also hangs. But what did Wesley calculate here?
So rook takes pawn is the move, and it's the most natural move in the position as well.
I think Vishy is going for it.
You think he's about to do it?
Yeah, he was just going for
What do you think, Chad? Does Vishy get the ball at the back of the net in this one?
There's another very cool move. Queen f6 check. I think it's working. This queen f6 check. You just trade the queens and that's it. That's game over. Wait, he's going for it.
And he does it. He goes for e6. It's a different check, Sahaj. He opens up the bishop, and Wesley's king is being forced up the board right now. This almost looks like, as Peter Lecco would say, if this is not checkmate, then I don't know what is.
Yep, he's searching for that mate. It is there somewhere. Maybe just pawn takes pawn is a logical move.
He does make a decision. By the way, huge swings are happening on the Arjun Vidit board. Should we quickly take a look at that? Or Sahaj?
Absolutely. Let's do it. See what's happening there. Oh, wow.
Completely winning for Vidit right now.
Wow, that is huge. Vidit defeating Arjun with the black pieces, and it looks like the game is completely won. Where no counterplay for Arjun whatsoever.
All right, we'll come back to this, but let's go to Vishy's board back again, because I have a feeling that one's about to end, Sahaj.
Yeah, I think Wesley on the verge of a resignation there, but
But you know, I feel that this is the kind of position, because there's a knight on the board, which can be a bit of a nightmare, that there are some swings that can happen. You
Absolutely.
simply capture the g4 pawn.
But be careful, there's rook f6. That could be a problem. I'm not sure if it's working. I think there's rook g5.
Yes,
There's rook g5, yes.
there's so many tactics, Vishy, and we're looking at the line rook takes pawn, rook f6, which has been set up, and then ideas of rook takes knight, rook takes queen, rook takes rook would come in with a check, and checkmate to follow.
Oh,
Too many arrows, but
beautiful, beautiful. No, I think this is the one time I will say the arrows are completely worth it, yeah?
should we show that line
Yeah,
really quickly, because
absolutely.
it's so beautiful. Rook takes pawn is possible, and he's reaching out for
He's
it.
going for it.
You know what? We don't need to show it. Vishy will show us.
Oh, yes, he's going for it. He has all the time he needs right now, 4.5 minutes on the clock. This is where those crucial extra minutes really add up.
Oh, he changes his mindset because he was going for that pawn.
Now he goes h4.
But it's the PP on the PP, put pressure on the pinned piece.
Absolutely, because now he has to en passant, and that rook jumps to h4, and there is just going to be a checkmate on the cards here somewhere.
In fact, I think H4 was even stronger than rook takes pawn.
Really? Yeah.
Vishy in beast mode.
Absolutely, and he has 8 seconds on the clock. I think we are going to see a resignation from Wesley.
Let's
very,
go
very
full
soon.
screen. Should we go full screen on the players? Because
Wait.
Wesley has no time on the clock.
Did he just pawn takes g5, yeah, just to stop any rook f6 ideas, and he's just a piece up.
Wesley is relying on pawn takes pawn, trying to give some checks. He's saying, you know what, your king is still a bit open. I'm going to fight this out. But I don't think it's going to be enough to fight it out.
No, absolutely not. I think you can just move the king to e1 to g1. It's completely safe there. You could see Wesley shaking his
Just
head.
move your queen with a check. If pawn takes knight, pawn takes pawn, queen e5 comes in with a check.
Yep, I think that looks very, very good for Vishy. The question is,
Wish-
how is he going to win?
Vishy is potentially about to start Tata Steel Chess India campaign with a win against Wesley.
That's insane.
Do you think he resigns, or do you think he plays on now?
I think he resigns here. Yeah. Yep. There it is.
What a win by Vishy with the white pieces, crushing and crashing through to Wesley. And he says, we'll analyze, but let's do it outside. Let's not disturb the players right now. But what a start for Vishy Anand in his comeback to Tata Steel Chess India.
Absolutely, and he's the first one to finish.
First one to get the win. And with that, let's quickly move on to Arjun versus Vidit Sahaj, because last time we checked in, Vidit was in a completely winning position, and I think he still is. I'm trying to understand. So he's got one extra pawn.
Yes, the pawn on d5. But maybe Arjun has found some counterplay here. Maybe there is. I see that rook on g4. Maybe some knight d6, knight f5 type of ideas. But right now your bishop on b4 is attacked. So I'm thinking something like bishop to d6. You trade off that bishop, and then I take bishop takes d6, and that's it. Maybe that can be interesting there.
And we've also got an update that Kateryna Lagno and Nana Dzagnidze, their game is the first to end in Tata Steel Chess India Women. That one ended with a draw. And Sahaj, if there's any board that you feel is about to end.
Yeah, I think the game between Carissa Yip and Stavroula is about to end.
All right, let's quickly then jump over. Should we
Yeah, I think let's
just
do that
a
as well.
quick hop to Carissa from the United States, taking on Stavroula from Greece here. Oh yes, I think great call there. Black about to get checkmated here any moment.
Oh, she goes queen takes f2 and bishop c5, trying to pin that rook on c5, but she goes bishop d4. What a beautiful move. What a beautiful tactic, because if you take that bishop on d4, I have queen d7 check,
Oh,
and then
wow.
I take that bishop on d4.
We're going to
That's
see
it.
this being played out. And that's it. We get a resignation. Let's also check in with Divya against Harika. Divya was on the attack at the start of the position. A lot of trades have happened since, but I love Divya's pieces here. The knight on c4 looking super solid, can never be moved away. It's also got a best friend reinforcing it. There's the h4 pawn, which is, well, right now defended by Harika's bishop, but it's quite a bad and a sad bishop for Harika.
Absolutely, that bishop I think is gonna have a very difficult time activating itself. But the problem in Divya's position is, how does she break through?
Yes.
Because Harika's best hope is a fortress. But how does Divya break through is the question. And generally you're breaking through by a pawn break. Yeah? So maybe g3 or f4,
right
something
time.
like that could be a possibility in the future.
So Divya with a big edge in this endgame. She's also up on the clock by a minute right now, but Harika is a monstrous defender. She just takes a slightly worse position and sits on it like there's no problem in life at all.
Absolutely. And I mean, look at her. The king side, everything is blocked. The queen side, only the b file is open, but there is no entry. You cannot go to b6, you cannot go to b7, you cannot go to b8. Nothing is possible.
All right, so as Divya tries to grind this one down, let's hop back over to our men's section here right now. And Sahaj, which game do you want to take us to? Hans Niemann, by the way, completely crushing Murzin. And that's where we are going. This one's about to end any moment. Look at Hans's king. The king is about to give checkmate to Black's king.
That king goes to G7 and he resigns. Wow. We need to watch the journey of that king. Yeah, how it ended up on G7, the Fianchetto bishop.
This is a game that you'll have to recap for us when we go on a break. Right now, there's still live action on. We'll jump to that, but Hans with an extra piece there, which could not have been captured in that last position.
There we have Arjun playing against Vidit. Vidit in a slightly better position, not winning anymore, or so it seems. But he has 20 seconds on the clock. Can he win this? Gives a check on A1. Arjun still in the game. I don't think he's lost anymore. 31 seconds. Goes King E2.
Getting the king towards the center. It's still a very tricky endgame, you know. Vidit's got those knights which are hopping, but Arjun's piece is so active right now. Vidit with 14 seconds. I think this is an endgame for all three results. And look at that. Vidit, he lines up the bishop, exiting the white knight.
Oh yes, and if you jump the knight to if you move the rook to b5, he's just gonna capture the knight on c5. He goes rook a6. Very smart choice because you want to keep that bishop on a7 at all costs, because that's the bad bishop in the position. That's how you hold a fortress down. He takes it and plays e4. By the way, best move in the position. Vidit is once again winning against Arjun.
And Vidit's plan is pretty simple, right? The king is going to join the party in the center. Eventually, at the right time, he's going to move the pawn. The bishop looking good. Arjun, meanwhile, races the knight back to defend.
Yes, looks very, very difficult. He goes d3 check. Very smart, trying to fix his pawns on the alternate color of the bishop. That way, the bishop can expand on its activity. As you can see, that bishop looking down on the golden pawn on f2. And now the king has to retreat back to f1. Not a good square, but it has to be done, and suddenly the bishop finds activity, yeah?
And the black king, I think all Vidit needs to do is start putting his king towards the center of the board. Is he, you want to time e3 at the right moment, and it just feels like it's too soon right now, because every pawn trade would get Arjun closer to the draw. Unless you've calculated a win, you don't push e3.
Yeah, and he doesn't have much time to calculate also. There's only half a minute on the clock. He goes king f7, bringing the king into the center. And now, I think Arjun has to find a way to prevent e3. Now that you mentioned this threat, Tanya, this looks so scary. How is he going to defend this? Does he play knight c4?
Do you think Arjun miraculously holds this, or will Vidit convert? Is this closer to an Arjun hold or a Vidit win?
I think Arjun can hold this.
You think
that's my feeling, but that's my feeling.
Hot take, chat. Hot take.
That's my feeling, but I think I've seen Arjun in World Rapid and Blitz, and he's an absolute monster when it comes to these situations.
And for Vidit, 2025 from a chess perspective has been shaky because there's so much that's been happening in his personal life. He got married. He's been, it's sort of taken away a lot of his training time in so many ways. It's been tough for him. So starting Tata Steel Chess India with a win against the most informed player is exactly what he needs to find his rhythm.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. As he goes f3, by the way, inviting e3. There are 2 pawns on the 6th rank now. I mean, you don't need to know chess to know that's scary. If I play e3, it's either winning or it's not. Yeah, is e3 winning? That's the question.
It feels like it's either winning or it's winning.
If he does, by the way, if he doesn't play e3, it's not winning. By the way, he plays it. Best move in the position.
It's also the move that's being, it's screaming to be played, So the knight jumps forward, it's stacking the bishop. You want to go e2, but notice how after king e1, you don't have the check on a5.
Plays d2, best move in the position, king e2. By the way,
he's about to win. I think Vidit takes this.
Yeah, can I change my answer?
No, too late. Too late. Too little, too late.
I feel like I would love to change my answer right about now.
Oh, knight c3, Sahaj with d1 queening.
Oh, he has to take that pawn on d2, and with that, I think it's just a simple matter of endgame technique, which I think Vidit will convert.
There's no way. There's no way to fight it. You can give one check, but that's useless. And he does give the knight for 2 pawns, but Vidit has enough pawns to convert this one. It's technique, and I think Vidit's up for this one.
Oh yes, oh yes. Unless you can make use of that pawn on h6, it's a wrong color with the bishop, and it's it's wishful thinking. But I think, yeah, it should be a win.
So the dream for Arjun to draw this is to trade off pawns. But it's hard to even imagine one pawn coming off the board, let alone both of them. If all the 3 pawns and the 2 pawns are off, bishop knight versus knight is a draw.
Yes, for sure. And he he plays h4, offering that pawn on h4, by the way. Now the pawns are level. He's just a piece up. Takes it. Yeah, I think Vidit is winning this one. And by the way, we do have another result. Wei Yi draws against Nihal Sarin. By the way, that's the first draw in the open section.
That is, and it might be the only one. I mean, Anand with a victory there. Hans Niemann starts with a win. Vidit about to convert his game on this board. And Pragg versus Arvind. How are we doing on that? That seems like it could be the second draw of the open section.
It could be. It could very well be. And it was a very crazy game because Pragg was pressing, but Arvind managed to hold somehow. But let's stay on this game because Vidit is about to defeat.
Yeah, we'll just update everyone that is a rook pawn end game. There isn't much happening there. So let's stay with this one. Pragg, Arvind most likely ending in a draw. So Vidit, will he convert this? He has to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he will go g6, h5. It just has to find a way to try and promote. Maybe we could see a bishop and knight checkmate here, Tanya. It is possible.
How long does it take for you to do a bishop and knight versus king checkmate? Can you do it in under 20 seconds?
It's difficult, but maybe.
You can, yeah?
Maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe. I have to play very quickly. I'm
so
not sure.
I could do it with a minute on the clock, and I know that's not a flex. It's a long amount of time. I couldn't do it with 30 seconds.
A minute is a flex for sure. It's very difficult for a lot of people. Yes, of course. No, I think it's people say it's an easy end game, but I think it can be a bit tricky when you play over the board.
Yeah, because you let the king escape once from the mating net, and you have to start all over again. But with it, he's doing a great job now. It's not even that extra pawn anymore. The king has a clear path up. The only thing that Arjun is setting up is knight e6.
But then g5.
Ideas.
G5, and then you put the king on g3 as well.
He's going for it.
Vidit is playing like Hans here. You know, Hans's king was on g7 as well, and now
we need to see that game set. I mean, what was that king march that Hans did on the last game? It could be the game of the round, I want to say.
Could be.
From that last position we saw.
Could very well be, and I think this is about to finish.
Maybe
attacking the g7 pawn.
And I'm going to tell chat this. Chat, when we go on a break before the second game, Sahaj will do a really cool game review from us from one of the actions we missed. So if there's a game that you think was the game of the round from the women or the open, send it to us on chat. We'll look that up. We might even feature you on our broadcast and tell us which game you'd like Sahaj to review. By the way, Vidit, cool, calm, collected. He's doing everything right.
Oh yes. Knight e6, and now just bring the king forward, attack the f3 pawn, and it is GG. Okay, I think this is probably where he resigns. I mean, unless he wants to play the bishop and knight endgame. It is possible technically.
Alright, so do you just now reroute the knight and win the f3 pawn? Is it time to go for it?
I'm thinking you can go like knight g7, knight f5. You can take the h6 pawn, and then you chop the g5 pawn, and then you go for the bishop and knight checkmate. Okay, do you think it's going to happen? Yes or no?
If it happens, Vidit gets it done. There's no question. And he's got a 10-second increment as well. So he does, instead of go king f2, he comes up with another brilliant way of doing it. He says, I'll give a check. I'll also stop your knight from jumping to f5 and win the f3 pawn.
He's also saying no bishop and knight checkmate. Yeah.
He's basically saying Arjun resign already.
Yeah.
King f5.
Oh, he's going for it. King g6. I think he's going for it. Look at that.
You're not going to... Oh,
he's going to take the pawn on h6 and take the pawn on g5. And we have a bishop and knight checkmate. Elementary stuff, but it's always nice to see it on the board.
Vidit will show how it's done. I'm kind of surprised that Arjun... I think he resigns. I don't think he goes into that. I think he resigns, and I won't be surprised if it's this moment. Maybe he'll play another move. Oh, he does! He's asking Vidit to show us how it's done.
Well, I mean, it's rapid. Yeah, I think it makes sense. But you know, the sort of the unfortunate thing for Arjun is that his king is already on the wrong color.
I'm really surprised. And by wrong color, you mean so for black, you want to get the white king here, the same color as your bishop. The bishop is the one that gives the checkmate.
Exactly. So for white needs to keep the king on a8 or h1 because those are the colors where you cannot checkmate.
Squares, but white's king is already boxed up that it'll be forced to h8.
This might be the quickest bishop and knight checkmate we see.
And
the king is so close already.
Yes, and I think for those who might be new to this position watching, again, the idea is to get the white king on a dark square at the corner, h8 or a1, and use your bishop to give checkmate. That's why Arjun's trying to run away as far and make it as difficult for Vidit to force that king to h8. But with it, he's showing he knows the technique. Look at that. He takes away that central square. He takes away the light square. He pushes the black knight and the bishop, boxing up the white king, not allowing it to escape.
Absolutely. And now next move, king e7, I think very logical. Cover that square as well. And then it is just GG. Look at that Pragg looking at this board, seeing the bishop and knight checkmate.
And that one has ended in a draw. You called it. You said two good friends playing. They've drawn multiple times between each other. So that one ends in a draw. Vidit here putting the finishing touches, forcing Arjun's king to that dark square.
Now I think the easiest way to do this is to put the bishop on h6 and then you just control those 3 squares, and then you bring the king forward, and that's it. The game is pretty much over. By the way, in the women's section, Goryachkina and Rakshita Ravi have drawn their matches. Carissa Yip defeats Stavroula Tsolakidou. Divya and Harika are still playing. Nana and Kateryna draw, and Vantika has defeated Vaishali.
Wow, huge result for Vantika there, taking down Vaishali with the white pieces. And Vidit, by the way, he's got that 10-second bonus time here. We still have one more game on. Divya and Harika are still fighting. We'll jump to that as soon as this one's over. Arjun, he's a fighter. He doesn't care that people are thinking that why am I playing this position? Why am I not resigning? He's making Vidit prove this thing.
I mean, it's rapid. I think you play everything until the very end. Yeah, you can miss. I mean, mistakes can happen. I mean, it's very rare. I think it's almost impossible, but mistakes can happen in this sense. He goes king f7.
Yes, and now he's managed to get the white king at the corner, Sahaj. And now the idea is that when it steps here, you want to give a check with the knight, force it back, and give checkmate on f6.
Exactly.
Or on this diagonal. So he gives a waiting move, and that's it. It would have been checkmate into with the knight landing here, the king forced back, and the bishop jumping on the diagonal. So with it, showing that, you know what, bishop versus knight, I know that at the back of my hand.
Of course, and defeating Arjun with the black pieces is a great way to start the year.
Taking down the bronze medalist from the World Rapid, the World Blitz, Vidit arriving in Kolkata with a statement win here. Meanwhile, Divya versus Harika is the last remaining game. Let's jump straight to that action.
I have a question
Players
for you.
playing on seconds.
I have a question for you. Who's playing for a win here, Tanya? Because earlier it was Divya, but now I'm not sure.
You know, the two have so much history between each other. Divya is the one who knocked out Harika in the Women's World Cup. They've been teammates at the Olympiad, but I know for Harika, I can't imagine her offering a draw in this position, even if she's slightly worse. She's going to play this out, and I think unless there's a repetition or a king versus king, this game goes on. Who's playing for a win? Maybe...
Are they repeating?
Maybe they're finding a way to repeat the position, Saj.
By the way, Tanya, it's move 77 that this game. This is such a long game for a for a rapid.
I think it happens. I think we might even touch 100 moves in this one.
Good, very well, it could. By the way, no repetition. She goes bishop e7, and now the knight has found its place to f5. And Divya, I think, knows this is better. She gets that water, and now. What is Harika going to play? Because that knight on f5 is going to attack d6 and h4 both. This is trouble for Harika. I feel that Harika is going to be in deep because there's only one move here that saves her, and that is knight to e8. And after knight f5, you get bishop g5. It's not.
She's reaching out for it. I think that. Oh, and she changes her mind in the last moment, and her hand was on the knight, and she makes a mistake.
Yeah.
And
because
now
that bishop on f8 is completely tied down.
Yes, to defend the pawn. And you're so passive right now. I mean, even if you give a check, I think you can just give up your bishop for the knight and make a case that I'm playing good knight versus bad bishop.
It's almost like playing good knight versus no bishop. There is nothing on f8. It can never move, ever. I think she will not play knight g5 though. I would be surprised. I think she'll just go knight f6, knight h7 and just try to make a waiting move to see how Divya is going to improve her position. And I think she will play knight g5 when that bishop is not on that diagonal. Maybe after bishop e1 or something.
But the thing is, bishop e1 would also hit the h4 pawn. You're just overloaded. Bishop e7 isn't possible. The square is controlled. Divya is about to win a pawn in the position. h4 is falling.
Bishop e1, knight g5 check, and I think I have h3. Maybe. If she goes bishop, yeah, that's happening on the board. Wait, knight g5 check. She moves the king, and now h3. And is she back?
And Divya just rushed with that decision. It was a plan I was mentioning, but I think she did it too quick, and now the weakness is gone. Harika is very well back in the game right now.
I think this is a very natural decision by Divya there, because you look at the h4 pawn and you want to capture it, but now that knight is active. And suddenly I feel...
Not only the knight is active, that h-pawn is gone. It's been traded. It was the one weakness you had to win, Sahaj. She's now trying to focus completely on d6, rerouting the bishop.
Exactly. There's this rule, right? The principle of two weaknesses. There were two weaknesses on the board, but now there's just one. And she goes knight g5, best move in the position. Because if you capture that knight on g5 now, my king is just going to route itself to d7. And then I will just say pass.
Yes, then
What's
you've
your
got the fortress that you were talking about.
Exactly.
And you often need pawns split on two sides of the board. Here, black is completely consolidated in the center, so only 1 point to be defended. Makes it a lot easier. Knight g5, and I think Divya just let slip the advantage when she allowed Harika to play h3, and Harika super alert.
Absolutely. And now she goes knight f7, and now basically she can play anything she wants. She can even move the bishop to h6. Yeah, that was a slip up by Divya there. She goes knight g5 check, offering a repetition. No, she goes knight h6. No repetition. But okay, it's impossible to win for Harika, right?
I can't imagine that. I think Harika in this position knows that draw is the best result here. Also, Divya can just go c4, put all her pawns on light squares. It's Harika with the pawns on dark squares that can be targeted. If anyone's offering a draw here, I think it has to be Divya to Harika. But I just feel that they play.
But
They
okay,
play
you
on.
can just put the king on d7.
No, you don't even
and
need
just
to
say
move
pass.
the king. You just make sure, because white's king isn't entering.
Yeah, you're right.
You just
right.
use your own bishop to keep shuffling around. And I think they're going to repeat. Now this is the moment that they find a way to just repeat the position and shake hands.
Yep, the difference between active defense and passive defense. Yeah, I was going for passive defense with d7, but Tanya says, no, keep the king on h5 because you're absolutely right. My king is paralyzed on g3.
She's just going to shuffle h5, g5, h5, g5, and no inroads for Divya. And that lean back, that tells the story that she's exhausted all the chances in the position.
Absolutely. And by the way, what a great fight it was by both of these players. The accuracy was 94.3 and 94.1%, which is crazy for a 90 move rapid game.
She set up, if you move that king back, that is amazing. That is actually insane. Over 94% for a rapid game. High level chess by both these players. She had set up a little trap of bishop h4 check if black would have moved, if Harika would have gone king to g5. Oh, right now you can't go king to g5.
Yeah, there's bishop h4, but I think, she just moves the bishop up and down. And yeah, if the bishop goes to c7, then you start moving the king. If the bishop goes back, you start moving the bishop. Very, very simple. I think Divya has accepted the draw, but okay, she's thinking when to offer the draw, yeah? And now she's thinking, goes bishop to d2.
And I'm still surprised that Divya isn't just repeating with bishop to a5. Instead, changes her decision and comes back. Dances around with the bishop, but no inroads to be made here. Gain some time on the clock, but Divya, what more do you have here? The white king can't make its way to the other side of the board. Harika's king will march up and start attacking the white pawns. So both stuck on this corner.
I think just a couple more minutes until the game finishes. I think we might reach 100 moves. Yeah, how many moves away are we?
It's move 97, 3 moves away to reach the big mark of 100. And Harika's made it clear that she's ready for repetition, but for some reason, Divya's still hanging on. And we remind everyone that as we go on break, we will see the fantastic Hans Niemann game with Sahaj doing a game review on that. What a win against a former World Rapid champion, Murzin. And Hans also had a great performance in Doha in the Rapid. He tied for second, and he starts with a bang in Kolkata.
Absolutely. I think he's definitely a player to watch in this format. And yeah, starting off a win is great. And now I think they're just repeating moves. We will have handshakes very, very soon.
I told you, there'll be no offer. And Divya there with a slight smile. She knows she's done the best that she can. Harika, as usual, a great defender in slightly worse positions. It's one of the hardest players to beat.
She goes king g3.
I was about to say she's like the Wesley So of Indian women chess, but then I just remembered how Vishy dismantled Wesley in the last game.
Touche. She gives a check on h4 and now king f3. Okay, is Divya trying to play or are they just not offering draws to each other? What's happening?
I am not surprised that there are no draw offers yet. I was thinking that there will be a repetition. That's how this game ends. Or maybe Divya now finally moves the king to h3 and offers a draw. This would be a good moment.
Yeah, she has 20 seconds on the clock, so she has to move a bit quickly. She goes king h3, bishop d8 back, king g3 again. Can she go? But she,
No,
she can.
Saj, that's it. Nobody is going anywhere.
can play bishop g5, and that would be winning if she takes the bishop.
The king pawn ending?
Yeah, the king pawn ending would be winning for Harika.
Not if you got king g3 with white. So you're saying king h3?
No, not here, not here. Without bishop h4. So in the
Yes.
previous move, if black played bishop g5 immediately, just
Yes.
to have a little,
Whoever. Oh,
would you like? Oh wow.
I thought she'd go king h3.
They're just not. Nobody's offering a draw here.
And I'm sure everyone in the players' lounge, I'd love to get a camera in there, is watching this game right now and wondering why in Kolkata are you playing this? Why on earth are you doing this right now?
So I'm just checking. The last pawn move was 87 in this situation. That means we have it can go on for a long time.
Another about 30 moves to be made.
King g5 played. No bishop h4 check as the king is on f3 this time.
Okay, there has to be a draw offer at this point. Or
She
not.
goes king g3, king h5.
Do you think that there will be this point where the players will claim the 50 move rule?
But they don't have a score sheet. How will they claim? Only the arbiter. Let's actually remind everyone, in a situation like this, it is actually the arbiter who can claim, but only after move 75, not after move 50. So if they decide to continue this, it could go on for a long time.
And I'm all for playing till the end. I'm all for, fight it out till the very end, till the last moment. But the thing is, there is a but, you're right. But wait a second.
I mean, she's playing bishop f2, and you can see.
Not this position. The thing is, there has to be some juice to squeeze.
Oh, you never know what could happen here. She could play king g3 and bishop h4 check, could be losing for Divya as well. That's all I'm saying. There could be mistakes from either side here still. You really think the game is over?
100% over. I was
99.73%.
It's over in some universe. And there it is. I think Harika looks at the arbiter and Divya says no need to even call. Handshakes. A game that should have probably been drawn 50 moves ago, but Divya fighting it out. Harika defending perfectly finally does end in a draw. Because there are 2 more rapid games coming up. You don't want to spend all your energy, and we've got Armand there, SLK Chess, saying that he's met Divya and she's a fighter. She'll fight till the end. Completely agree with that. By the way, Divya, an absolute beast on the board, just plays it out, makes you sweat. But I think this position, what we had, could have been drawn a few moves earlier.
Yes, but of course, I think it was also a lot of her trying to accept that the previous position was completely winning for her and it's not anymore.
Yes.
You're also accepting that it's a rapid game, you don't have much time to digest your thoughts. It makes sense.
What would you have done? Offer draw yesterday and walked out.
I would have offered a draw in the winning position. I would just say, would you? So what are we doing?
Then your opponent would have refused.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Sahaj, I think we're going to bring up our standings very, very soon. There's another second game coming up, the second game of the day. And you have to do a game review for us of the brilliant Hans Niemann last position that we saw. This is where we stand after round 2 right now. 3 players getting the dub in first game. Vishy, Vidit, Hans in great style, attacking games by all 3 of them. Vidit with a beautiful endgame technique there. All the other for Arvind, Nihal and Pragg, it ended with a draw. And Wesley, Arjun and Murzin at 0. Meanwhile, in the women's tournament, we've got Carissa, Vantika scoring first round victories. And then we had a bunch of draws right there. Early days to talk about standings, but some big wins coming on.
Absolutely nice summary there. By the way, how did I get on this side of the screen?
What side? You were always there.
Was I always
You were always there.
Okay. Just,
I don't know what you're talking about.
So let's go through this game between Hans Niemann and Volodar Murzin. As we can see on the board, he starts off with e4. So we have the French defense. I believe we did cover it a bit, Tanya, with this Steinitz variation with knight f6. White goes e5, knight d7, f4. So far we are in mainstream territory after bishop e3. So I think more than around 20,000 games have been played in this position alone. Black goes a6, queen d2, b5, and here we were talking about how there's a queenside launch incoming, so you should never castle on the long side. He goes bishop e2, black plays queen b6, and now he goes knight d1. Now this was the move that kind of perplexed me, because now he's saying no more long castle, and I'm eyeing the king side here. Black goes b4, he plays c4, and I believe this is around the moment where we left it. Black goes c takes d4, knight takes d4, he takes the knight, bishop takes d4, and now bishop c5, and we thought this will be equal, but Hans had different plans. He takes the bishop on c5, knight c5, he takes the pawn on d5, and now this was, I believe, an only move for Volodar. We were looking at the move pawn takes d5 for quite some time, but the problem is this pawn can become an isolated weakness in long term, and Volodar had the right intuition there by going bishop b7. White goes knight e3, black goes knight e4, and this looks, I'm not even sure for who this looks more scary. White is a pawn up, but black has this beautiful knight on e4, much like Wesley's bishop on e4 as well against his game.
I'm just excited to see the king march set.
White goes queen d3, he takes the bishop. It's coming, but we're gonna set it up. First he castles, yeah. No plans whatsoever. He goes short castle, rook f8, just developing my pieces, just going about my day.
Just want to tell chat to keep looking at that white king on g1.
Oh yeah, they'll see it.
There.
Trust me, they'll see it. He takes the bishop on e2, rook d6 happened. Very normal position so far. Queen
Actually
b5.
looks fine.
Mistake. No, why? Why is it a mistake? Because king f2. That's why it's a mistake. Because
this is where it starts.
This is where, and Hans already had this plan. My king is going to go to g7 one day, and my opponent's going to resign, and this is where it begins. Rook c8. Now watch this. Queen d4, slight inaccuracy, but still I think very much intact. And it's big blunder. Yeah, rook b6, and he just loses the bishop.
Oh wow! No, he had queen. Sorry, just a second. So rook b6 would have won on the spot, but what is the queen has to stay connected to the bishop? Why is queen d3 winning?
I think because you just take it, I take it, and then just bring rook d1. Actually, no, you don't take it. This is why I offer draw in winning positions, because these things happen. But there is a win here somewhere. It's rook d1. It's rook d1.
Oh, that's a beautiful move actually. Bishop takes rook, the queen is hanging, and if queen takes queen, the white rooks are beautifully placed, and I think black just ends up losing the 2 pawns on the queen side, with eventually getting attacked. Rook d7, rook a7 ideas, and
look at this bishop. No future, yeah, no squares.
Very few squares.
Just one. There's just one square. That's it.
Oh yeah, you have to go back to h5, and then immediately you can start winning the a pawns.
And then g4 is also there. With so many problems. But okay,
this was missed by Hans.
Yeah, he goes a4, takes. Bishop h5 happens, and he plays g4 anyways. Black takes on g4. Wow. He should have gone bishop g6 in this position, but I think with both players having less than 30 seconds on the clock, he said, okay, let's try to attack the king. Knight takes on g4, gives the check. King g3. Queen here.
But I have to say, this looks scary for the white king. And I think Murzin gave up that piece thinking that he's got to have something. It's rapid. I should be checkmating white.
I think for sure the king looks scary. But whenever there is a knight around the king, you feel more or less safe because knights are amazing defenders. They block all the important checks from the position.
Also, Sahaj, black's king starts looking very lonely and also a bit terrified with all the back rank threats.
Exactly. And that's why he played rook d8. Yeah? And black goes, he gives a check on e1. King h3, and this is where the king march happens. Gives a check again, and now boom, king h4. Plays g6, takes on f8, black takes back, and now check, king here, check, king f8, check again, king e7, and now rook b3. King is once again sitting on h4, very, very fine. Gives a check, and now king g5. h6, look at this, king takes h6. Plays queen h4, king to g7. And the funny thing is that if he took on h8, it would be king takes h8. And white would be winning. But okay, he didn't do that. He resigned after king g7.
I mean, if you take on g4, let's just show that queen takes 9 also ends with a checkmate with the rook sliding over to b7. You can't take the piece on g4. If you trade queens, then you're down a piece.
Absolutely. So basically, this king had a march from e1 to g1, then here. That's beautiful, no?
It's stunning. And I think for me, and doing that with majors on the board, with the queens and the rooks on the board.
Wow.
For those who might not have seen a game that I'm gonna mention, Nigel Shot's King March all the way to h6. Please go check out Nigel Shot versus Jan Timman.
And in that
Nigel playing with the white pieces.
It was like this.
Yes. And in that game, all the pieces were on the board. Not just the queens and the rook. So definitely check that game out if you haven't seen it. Nigel Shot's King March is one of the most famous chess games of all times. And I think this was a Hans-inspired version of it.
Oh, yes, for sure. When the king, finishes on the opposite side, it's always a treat to watch. So I think a great game by Hans. Overall, and I think he's of course on perfect score so far alongside Vidit, Wei Yi and Vishy, of course. 3 players on perfect score so far, Tanya. Vishy, Vidit, and Hans. So you said if you had to choose a player, it would be Vishy for you. I think it's
I'm
working out
super
well.
happy to see the way Vishy played with the white pieces. I think he was under pressure. You were talking about Wesley's bishop, and then finding those attacking moves that he did when he got that opportunity. Vishy with queen to f5, which pretty much decided the game. Brilliant stuff there. Hans's king march, such drama. Nihal surviving against Wei Yi. It felt like he was about to get checkmated, but that one miss and Nihal managing to keep things under control. Vidit with a big win against Arjun Erigaisi. I mean, this has been a fantastic start. Divya continuing to play till the very end, till the end of end and beyond that against Harika. Vantika with a huge win against Vaishali. And with that, we've set ourselves up so well for round two. Let's talk about the pairings that we've got coming up. Yes, Ed, sorry.
For me, the highlight was Divya's game for sure. Like how she continued playing. But what was the highlight for you for day one? Like for round one? If you had to choose one moment.
I think it's quite interesting the way Divya continued. But for me, I feel that this game review that you did, I would say that it has to be either Vishy's win or Hans's win. For me, these two games were played so beautifully. Hans's game, though up and down in the beginning, he did make mistakes, but this execution of the attack against Murzin, fantastic. Vishy starts with a win. I think for me, it would be one of these two. Chat, what do you think? What was the highlight from round one for you? Tell us, and we'll feature that on our show. What did you enjoy the most? Was it Divya's fighting spirit, or was it the crazy battles on the board?
Absolutely. And there we have the pairings in for round two. We have Wesley playing against Volodar Murzin. We have Vidit playing against Hans Niemann. So we have two players with a perfect score playing against each other. What is your prediction there?
Wow, what a round this is going to be. The two winners of round one, Vidit versus Hans, who are definitely feeling confident and in great form after what they just demonstrated. So I feel like that's the matchup that I'm most excited about. And look at that. Vishy now takes on Wei Yi. It's going to be Vishy against the runners-up of the World Cup. Wei Yi has had fantastic last few months, with the World Cup, even in the Global Chess League. He played so incredibly well for the Triveni Continental Kings on that board too, getting so many wins in. So I think that one's going to be an absolute banger as well. And let's bring up our women's pairing. I think we're just moments away from the players walking in to the arena, and we never want to miss that action. What stands out to you in this one, Saj?
I think probably Divya didn't even leave the playing arena, because the moment she finished the second round.
My theory is at some point Harika was thinking, Divya, we've got a second round to play. I'm just calling the arbiter at this point.
Absolutely. And coming back to the games, I think for maybe on the top left corner of the screen, we have Goryachkina playing against Vaishali. I think that will be a crazy match. So we'll definitely try to keep an eye out for that one. And then we have Stavroula playing against Divya as well. That's another very interesting match to me. And of course, Lagno versus Vantika is also going to be interesting. So far, we have two leaders in the women's section with a perfect score, and those are Carissa Yip and Vantika Agrawal.
I don't know about Divya, but maybe Harika didn't leave the hall because she's the first to arrive. Right center court there, and ready for the battle. It's going to be a big one. It's game two, and Vishy, he's setting up for his big clash against Wei Yi. We've got the Women World Rapid Champion Goryachkina on the screen as well. And so just behind them, Hans versus Vidit. Hans with a smile there. I think that smile is Hans looking at Vidit in his meditation mode, getting locked in. And Hans is saying,
Oof.
I need to know these tricks, man.
Oof. Let's go. We'll have the matches started very, very soon. Wei Yi adjusting his pieces, getting ready for the battle. By the way, Vishy getting a double white.
Yes.
I think definitely, that's a nice thing to have, I think, in any event. So, him against Wei Yi, what's the result, Tanya? What do you think?
You're putting me on a spot. Too soon to call a result on this. I just want a big fight. I want this to be a proper battle, a proper fight, a long game. I'm not going to predict a result on this.
So, draw, yeah?
You know what? I'll say it'll be a decisive game. I don't know who takes it. I think it'll be decisive, but I just want one of those games which is an art piece where both players push each other to the edge.
I thought you were going to say it will be decisive for no one. But okay, I think we'll have liftoff very, very soon there. Vishy with a perfect score. Has a great day so far playing against Wei Yi. Let's see what happens as we go to round two. And by the way, Tanya, we have Pragg versus Arjun. So let's not forget, that's another very huge matchup incoming.
What a treat Tata Steel Chess India is. I mean, with this lineup, and that's what they've always aimed for. They've always aimed to have an exciting mix of players in the field to make sure we get that fighting chess that we all love to watch, the entertainment that we love to watch. And Vishy versus Wei Yi, as you're pointing out, Nihal taking on Arvind. We've got Vidit versus Hans. I mean, that's going to be an absolute street fight there. Two clashing styles. You've got Pragg, Arjun, and in the women as well, Divya with the black pieces against Stavroula. She's going to try to push this one. She tried it the last time around. And Vaishali wanting to make a comeback from her first round loss against Vantika.
But she's playing against Lagno. I mean, with that too, with the black pieces, I'm not sure if that is...
Vantika.
Sorry, no. Oh, sorry, I was talking about Vaishali. Vaishali's playing against...
Vaishali's playing against Goryachkina on the screen. Unless they're sitting on the wrong boards, which I don't think is the case.
I see it on my screen as this. I'm not so sure. But could be an error on our
Or maybe
side.
no, Lagno's there. Vaishali is sitting opposite Goryachkina. Or am I seeing wrong?
Wait, are they going to switch this now?
There it is. It's Goryachkina versus Vaishali and it's Lagno versus Vantika.
Maybe,
I think-
maybe it's an error on
Yeah,
this
maybe
side,
it's maybe on our end we've got the wrong games up. Goryachkina almost looks like, hey, I'm ready to get this party started. Can we do this already?
Let's
Can we get the
go.
clocks going? And it is go time.
Oh, yes. And then we have e4 on the board.
All right, so we'll start this time with the women's boards, and I'm gonna have to pull that up.
There we have it. By the way, g6 played, the Cosio defense employed by Vaishali. A very interesting opening. I think it has a history of being a bad opening in general, but when you have, I mean, these days, I think we have learned that anything, if you prepare it well, then it just works. Yeah, I mean, there is this player who was playing in the World Rapid and Blitz. His name is Gautam Krishna, and every single game he was playing 1b3 and 1b6.
Yes.
And he was just crushing it. the
And I
entire
think
day.
that approach really powers down when it's shorter time formats because you don't give your opponent the time to figure the way out. Even if objectively the opening is not great, you know you'll get a fight on the board if you force your opponent to burn early time. All right, so we've got action with an offbeat opening in this one. Maybe what you're saying, a rapid opening as it's called, a speed chess opening right now. The bishop comes out. It's an open position. Serge, let's do a quick roundup of the openings that we're seeing all around. Vaishali versus Goryachkina. Right now, Vaishali trying to get a game with the black pieces with her
Absolutely.
opening approach. Let's move on to Harika versus Nana. And on this one,
This is London system. I know because this pawn, when you capture c takes d3, that's what happened in this game. And I love this position for the white side because that pawn on d3 makes sure that you don't have the square on e4. And at the same time, if you ever play c5, I'll capture and push d4 again.
Yes.
It's so annoying to play this as black, I feel. That's a great choice by Harika.
and you can start putting pressure on the open C line already to make black take a decision with the C pawn. All right, so Harika's opening choice approved here by Sahaj. Let's take a look at Vantika versus Kateryna. Vantika with the first, a big first round victory.
Yes, and by the way, she goes for the Moscow variation with bishop b5 check, and
After
Vantika goes
Rossolimo.
knight c6, so transposing into the Rossolimo there, as I can see on the screen. I think there's a few more moves been played after that. There's d4, c4, queen d4, as I can see on the board over there.
All right, our board isn't catching up just yet, but still opening territory. And I know Divya's game caught your attention. Look at that. Look at the number of moves that has happened. Sahaj, you need to take us through from the beginning in this one.
Wow, I mean, I don't even know where to begin. First of all, she employs the modern defense with d4, g6, and e4, bishop g7. And after knight c3, she goes d6. But very, very typical opening if you want to play for a win with the black pieces. You accept a worse position, you give your opponent the space and the development, but you say, okay, at least we'll have a game. She goes a6, white plays bishop e3, a6, and wow, this move g4 is crazy actually. Make sure that black can never play knight f6 because you'll always have these g5 ideas which can be a bit annoying. And what does she play here? She goes b5, bishop g2, okay, bishop b7, both plays
If you're playing online and somebody plays g4, it almost feels like a mouse slip that they intended to play g3 but the pawn moved one step forward. But here it was definitely none of that.
Oh yes, absolutely. But this move g4 is so I think it's relatively less known in the modern sphere, but I did look at this variation actually very recently, and it is a huge headache for black. Especially if you don't know this, it is a huge headache. So I feel Divya could be in some pressure, but after this move b4, she is forcing Stavroula to play an only move here, which is knight d5, and once she goes knight d5 here, she will maintain her advantage. But if she doesn't, then Divya is back.
Stavroula is going all out against Divya in this game right now and looking to set up that attack. But I have to say, knight d5 feels like a very human approach as well. It's at the center of the board. You never want to give up your bishop pair. After pawn takes knight, that pawn will not be a weakness. That will be a huge strength in white's position. So knight d5, and I think Stavroula finds it.
You know the idea? It's knight d5, pawn takes g5, and then you play h5 as white. I know this because I'm not kidding you, Tanya. I looked at this 2 days ago. This exact same position.
No way.
I'm not going to say why, but there is
No,
a reason.
please tell us why. Were you helping Stavroula to
No,
prepare? Was that the reason?
It was for a training camp, but not with Stavroula. But exactly this position, when we looked at this exact same idea with h5 because of how crazy it is. Now the question is,
Stavroula looked at it is the question.
I don't think so, because she wouldn't be thinking for this long. Yeah, especially even if she finds knight d5, I don't think she sees h5 there.
All right, we'll check back in with this game to see if Stavroula finds this idea, the concept that Sehaj found 2 days ago in his analysis. Sacrifice the pawn, get that h5 pawn moving. Sehaj, let's do a roundup of the openings in Tata Steel Chess India men. Let's shift back to that. Some big matchups. Where do you want to start?
I think let's start off with the game of... I think let's do Vishy versus Wei Yi, because a couple of developments have happened there.
I was going to say you read my mind, but I'm going to say you read my heart.
Oh, that's nice. But I think Vishy having slight advantage right out of the opening. He should feel comfortable more or less here. What was the opening? It was e4, c5, knight f3, d6, takes, knight f6, knight c3, and it is the knight off. English attack played, e5, knight f3. Black takes the bishop out, white takes the knight to d2. By the way, an interesting move, yeah, knight d2. The idea is to go knight c4 and knight b6. Very interesting idea there. And Wei Yi says, no, I'm going to play b5, and then Vishy takes the moment to strike with a4 in that moment. Black plays b4, knight d5, takes, and now once again we have the idea of knight c4 incoming, which Vishy goes for. Black plays knight d7, a5. Now he has a clamp on the b6 square, which he can use at a later stage. Black plays f5.
You know, it was also in the last game that Vishy had this exact same pawn on a5 and played on that b6 square against Wesley. So once more trying to get a similar dynamic.
Absolutely. And by the way, Tanya, look at this. If I play knight b6 in this position, can you capture with the rook as well? Like knight b6, a b6, rook b6.
Oh.
Let's just go.
Give up
Is it working?
Exchange. I love the concept, you know, the engine might be materialistic, but you've got a bishop pair, very healthy pawns in the center of the board. And the fact that the computer doesn't give a massive advantage here, you have a pawn for an exchange, I think it's quite playable. Committal, but playable. I don't think if Vishy went knight b6, I think Wei Yi will find a way to keep the pieces on the board though.
Yeah, true. I think that's true. But I think for Vishy, it might be a difficult way forward, because if you don't play knight b6,
you just castle, but then f4.
Where is that bishop going? Surely not to a7. Wait, is it going to a7?
I think it has to go to a7, but you can't keep attacking it.
No.
And I think this is what Vishy is even looking at here. Short castle, Wei Yi will push f4. That's what he's hinting at. The bishop slides over, attacking the rook.
Rook b7, and what's the plan?
And you might be forced to give up your bishop if this is the line that you choose.
Wait, now I'm not going to capture on b6 because I've already committed f4, but
you'll take it with the knight, right?
That's what
he goes
bishop b6,
yes. To start with. So he starts with bishop b6.
With golden opportunity, you can now capture twice. Now the question is, does Wei Yi, sacrifice his exchange? What do you think, Tanya?
I don't think he does it. I think it's possible. I don't hate it for black, that position. I think it's compensation for sure. I don't think he does it.
It's great. You give us this. I don't hate it.
I don't hate it because I feel like I'm more materialistic like that. I never want to give up my exchange in these kind of positions unless I'm absolutely forced to.
Envision this. You capture on b6 like he does. White captures back.
Okay, now moment of truth. Will he do it? Will he go with Sahaj and give up his rook?
The question is, does Vishy take with the knight or the pawn? Because if he takes with the pawn, then you don't have to capture on b6 anymore.
Okay, so you're saying only with the knight because you don't want that knight to live there for too long?
Yes. Actually,
Then
no,
it
I mean,
becomes
either
very
ways.
I would be surprised if we see that. All right, we will come back to this decision by Wei Yi. Chat. Meanwhile, tell us which board has caught your attention. We will continue hopping around. Let's check in with Vidit versus Hans. That's a game that I think everybody wants to get.
And Vidit, by the way, in his element, with the Catalan opening being employed, you can see that that e4 break in the last move was a brilliant move. However, the time does not tell the full story. Yeah? I mean, I thought it would be the other way around because Vidit would have 15 minutes and Hans would be the one thinking, but it's the other way around here.
Yeah, the fact that Vidit is down by 4 minutes on the clock currently, it means that somewhere he did take a while, and it still feels like theory of you know, the. Well, you say it's the Catalan bishop, but I think it came from a different conversion, and we'll do a quick action replay here. So it actually started with the Queen's Indian, and then the QGD, and well, actually, in fact, it was the Catalan with bishop b4 check. The bishop comes out.
Yeah, just transposed, yeah?
It transposed, shot castle, the knight comes out, queen c2, defending the c4 pawn, the bishop finds itself on a better square, Hans playing it all according to book right now. We're still in theory, bishop a6. And I'm just wondering, at what point did Vidit burn 4 minutes?
I think it was right before when he played knight c3, that's when he thought for about 3 minutes, and before he played his final move e4, he thought for about a minute and a half or so.
Okay.
So this is where it comes from. But now I think Hans has to be super precise. He has to take the pawn on c4 with his pawn.
Is it the only move?
I mean, in hindsight, okay, you can play probably pawn takes e4 as well, but I feel anything you play here just looks super risky for black.
I want to also mention about Hans, he's the kind of player who really uses the clock as a weapon. You know, if Vidit isn't careful and Hans gets up on the clock, he will start putting a lot of pressure, and a lot of times his opponent end up cracking under that clock pressure. So Vidit has to watch out on that. But why is it not a good idea to take with the bishop? I see a free pawn. Bishop takes pawn. I also trade off the knights. Why not bishop takes pawn?
I think it's good, but takes. Maybe I have d5 is what I was thinking.
Your pieces are completely ready for a break at the center. I love it.
Yeah,
the rook now suddenly lined up perfectly against the queen.
I have d6 as a threat to trap your bishop on e7.
I'll be forced to actually take on d5. And just to demonstrate how dangerous these positions can be, after knight takes pawn, knight takes knight, and everything for white makes
It's
sense.
a good dream position for a Catalan player, yeah?
Yeah, it's beautiful. The double bishop, the bishop can pin from h3, the rook joining in from d1. This is actually, it almost feels in human terms close to a losing position.
100% in every term, yeah. This is something I think that Hans would definitely not allow. So he has to go pawn takes d4. And now my question is, why can I not play d5 here anyways? Because if I can do it with bishop c4, why can't I do it now? There must be a tactical way to refute this scenario.
It's a great question. So d5, the one intermezzo that is potentially possible is knight takes knight in this, right? Because I still have a move.
Knight takes knight.
And my point is that if you try to get too greedy, I'll just plant my knight on d3.
Oh, beautiful idea there. Yes, nice intermezzo. Knight d3 is so nice.
So, in fact, let me just back up to knight takes knight. You'll be forced to take with the bishop.
Yes. And now you capture on d5, and then the queen has a hiding spot on e8.
So, let's say I take with the pawn, you take with the pawn, and you want to go queen e8. But
no,
d6...
not now. I mean, like pawn takes pawn.
Okay.
If you just capture back with the rook, I can at least hide
Yes.
my queen on e8 is what I was thinking.
I still prefer the activity of white's pieces, but at least it's not that bad. You know, my queen... It's just, where am I going with my queen next to connect my rooks? It still looks unpleasant for black, this position.
Very much so, yeah. So maybe there's a different move besides pawn takes pawn in the game, and maybe that's why.
Hans is thinking now, and the clocks are leveling out.
Wow.
So Hans has got to make the right decision here, and it's not an easy one. Pawn takes pawn is the first step towards that right decision. We'll see if Hans finds it. Let's check in with Nihal versus Arvind. Nihal surviving a first round scare even against Wei Yi.
Okay, this is the position, I think, from an English opening. White has a fianchet of bishop on g2. Some rook c1, rook c6 ideas are very nice in these positions.
You love giving up exchanges when they're not yours.
Yes, of course. When you're commentating, these things look amazing, because there's no consequences. You just say what you want. Rook takes c6 and knight takes c5. I mean, it looks amazing, no?
Yeah,
Knight
this is
takes-
like that knight off, rook takes knight
Yes.
sacrifice, picking up the central pawn.
You also have a dragon structure with the white side. Yeah?
Oh yeah, sorry, dragon, rook takes knight as well.
But like you have the exact same structure.
Yes.
So just put black's king on the c8 and okay, rook c6 is working. But yeah.
All right, so things looking pleasant here for Nihal against Arvind. Let's check in with Pragg versus Arjun. And Pragg looks, I mean, optically looks super nice for white, right? It looks like you're just ready to strike with the rooks placed on h and g file, g4, h5 coming in. I'm loving Pragg's position at first glance.
Yeah, I have to say, if this position came from KID, which it looks like it does, it is not ideal. This is not a good position to come out of KID. I feel like black has no counterplay on the king side whatsoever. Yeah, you can at max play like knight d. Okay, he plays knight d6, and at max you can go for f5. But if I have h5, g4, all of this incoming, then it looks super scary for Arjun.
Just keep pushing, no? If you're white here, you can start with g4, prepare it.
Yeah, g4, the idea is also you cannot allow f5, yeah, because gf5 opens up the g file.
Yes.
And I think Arjun is in trouble. He could.
What a great visual this is, right? You've got Nihal, Arjun, and Pragg and Arvind, the four youngsters of Indian chess. And then at center stage, center court, you've got the man who made that possible. You know, the man whose career pretty much allowed this generation to dare to dream and to do it.
Absolutely. What a legend he is. And by the way, we could see Vidit in the back as well, but then he was like, no, I don't want to be in this frame. So he just goes a bit forward. But yes, of course, having Vishy is amazing.
With it sort of generationally the middle bridge here.
Yep. Goes h5, attacks.
Alright, and Arjun's ready with his response. You know, your opponent's coming for your king. What do?
You attack on the other side.
You go for your opponent's king.
And
It's king for king.
okay, so now I can see there is a blue arrow screaming that we should play a3 in this position, but it doesn't make sense to me because if you, oh, okay, maybe it's because of dark squares, yeah?
So again, for everyone watching, when the blue arrow appears, that's not us doing anything on the board or on our systems. That's the computer automatically, engine automatically telling us that this is the best move by a margin.
Yes.
It is, well, here I don't want to call it the only move, but, and there it is. Pragg finds it. He stops the idea of black advancing to a3, creating all those dark square weaknesses. That it's a move, that there's a big difference between the top move of the engine and the second best move of the engine.
Absolutely. If you want to retain your advantage, you should play the move with the blue arrow, basically. So yeah, a3, I think, played by Pragg. And now Arjun is once again stuck. On the queen side, there is no counterplay. And on the king side, he's getting attacked. He just has to wait. This is such a bad situation to be in, Tanya.
It's also just not the kind of stuff that Arjun enjoys, right? He wants to be on the offense. He wants to be white in this position because it just looks like with b5, so much under control. You know, you've got the knight pawn and the bishop, making sure you don't get that. You're still a move away. And maybe that's what Arjun needs to start thinking about. Rook b8 and open up on the b line as quickly as possible.
Oh, I love that idea actually. Rook b8, b5, yeah, just push. Also, it gives the king some escape squares via f8 if needed.
Another king walk we might see.
I'm just worried about the king at this point because it looks. By the way, why is Pragg's rook on g1? It makes no sense to me. Because it's perfectly positioned, yeah. Because if you play g4, black cannot even play f5 here because you can always capture that. And otherwise, just
You know,
g5.
when in life you want to do a master's degree, you first need to graduate, right? You first need to finish your college. So right now that rook is in college. Once the g-pawn moves up, then the career just opens up. You'll have the master's degree, you will have all your job opportunities, everything will fall into place. So that rook on g1 is just preempting the g-pawn moving ahead, which it will in this game. I assure you, it's only a matter of time, and the rook is ready for that.
Tanya is
Setting up.
dropping some, very
It's only because I didn't study.
valuable advice, through chess commentary here. So kudos to you, Tanya, for that. But how does black's rook on f8 graduate then?
We already pointed out, right? You've got a clear path. You've got your opponent's rook on g1. You put yours on b8 and then push the b pawn forward. Basically, both the rooks are lined up against each other's opponent's kings.
Do you think one rook is going to graduate faster? I feel like there's a good chance of that.
It's very possible. You know, the smarter one, the smarter kid, you always have them go ahead faster. And let's see, we'll find out which one it will be. Will it be White's Rook on G1 or the Black Rook? First, Arjun, he's taking his time right now.
And by the way, while he thinks, Tanya, we should take a quick look at Vidit versus Hans,
Let's do
because
it.
nothing happened. He's still
Love the build-up.
He's still thinking. I wanted to do like a huge build-up, but I was like, no, let's just go straight to the point. For 10 minutes, he's thinking about this position. He has not made a move.
That's 5 minutes on the clock.
Yes.
I don't care if anything's happened on the board. So much has happened on that 17th piece, the clock right now. 5 minutes for Hans, and he finally takes the right decision, but that's cost him a lot of time.
So we started off with 15 minutes and 10 seconds, and he took 10 minutes and 46 seconds for one move. Basically, that is huge, I think, from Hans' side. So he did make the best move. By the way, Vidit immediately goes d5, which is an inaccuracy, and now you can see from the blue arrow, knight takes knight. By the way, Tanya, this is the position that we were discussing earlier, where if you take the pawn on e6, you can go knight d3. So we are getting that exact position on the board, but the question is...
And look at the blue arrow. It says that the move that we were looking at, in fact, has to be played. Hans calculated it while he burnt time. He was looking at it. Knight takes knight, bishop takes knight on the board. This is the line that we checked out.
Another blue arrow makes a mistake. Knight g4 was the move, and he takes the pawn on d5, and now the advantage is back with Vidit.
So let's just, the moves are coming in really quick, and now that they pause, when they pause, we'll show the knight g4 idea that you were mentioning. Right about now, let's do it. At this moment, with the blue arrow pointing out that knight g4 was the way to keep equality, you had to go on the counter offense here, attacking the bishop, and only once the bishop falls back, you can actually even go in with your own ideas of hitting on f2. So missing that opportunity, Hans Niemann. He took on d5, pawn takes pawn, and queen d7. We were looking at e8 and we didn't like that square for the queen. Hans with a creative way, it's still lined up against the rook, but he's saying you take on e6, my queen gets nicely centralized.
I think the same idea, but okay, it's a bit more active than what we were thinking of. I think it makes a lot of sense, but I think the problem is not on the board, it's on the clock right now. 5 minutes for Hans is way too less here, I feel.
I've seen him do this before, you know, he falls back on the clock and then suddenly he'll pick up pace, and before you know it, they get leveled out and it's his opponent who starts struggling on the clock. So won't be surprised if that's the narrative that happens here. Also notice the speed with which he got the sequence of moves on. So it was calculated. The problem is when you play one move, take too long, and then spend the equal amount of time for the next move.
Yes, absolutely. And I think I've seen this happen in the World Rapid as well, where Artemiev was playing against Arjun, and Artemiev had about 2 minutes left. I'm not kidding, 2 minutes on the clock after move 15 or so, and then managed to win the game despite being lost on the board. But still, you know, it's just there is this there's a certain psychological thing that happens because your opponent thinks that you have such little time on the clock. Let me make a couple of moves, you know, very quickly, and in that process they make a mistake. That's happened so many times. So the game is not over yet. I think for anyone, still very, very big fight incoming.
Huge fight, this one will be. And I think both Hans and Vidit, they're pleased with the complications that the position offers. It's basically a game in hand where you know there are opportunities for both players to go wrong, and that's exactly the kind of fight that both these players aim for. We'll check in with this. Let's go over to Wei Yi versus Vishy. And a lot has happened, but Vishy's king hasn't managed to get to safety.
Where is safety? There is no
Great
safety.
question.
There is, because the king cannot castle on the long side. On the short side, I mean, no thank you. I would rather stay in the center, right? Maybe king d1 or something. Or maybe I'll do artificial castling. King d1, king c2, king b1, something like this.
So last we checked in with this position, the bishop fell back. Well, actually it moved forward to b6. And after knight takes bishop, knight takes knight, we saw Wei Yi advance his central pawn, also make way for his own bishop on a diagonal that now would be unchallenged. The queen lands on d4. Oh wow, Wei Yi with a pawn sacrifice with b3. He says, I want to destroy your pawn structure.
Beautiful move.
That's actually stunning. He didn't even care about, there was no way to defend it, but he gives it up with interest here. Bishop lands on f6, queen falls back. Wei Yi continues the pawn march at the center of the board, discouraging Vishy from going castle ever with the f3 idea coming in.
Also, queen takes f4 is...
Let's ask a chat. Chat, let's see how alert you are. Queen takes pawn. Black to play here. What is the trap that Wei Yi had set up in this position? That's actually really taking advantage of the timing of the position.
Yes.
placement of the pieces.
For sure, for sure. Actually, there are two winning moves in this position. I think both of them. Actually, no, will not accept both. Just one of them is
I just feel one.
completely winning.
I just feel like this one has to be found. We'll keep an eye out. But here, as I can see our chat, do we have any answers?
I think the move that the chat is saying is bishop to c3 check. And with that, there's a discover attack on the queen and the king. If you take the bishop on c3, there is a rook takes f4, and boom, you are down a queen.
So setting that up in this position instead of f4, well done on that. Whoever found spotted bishop c3, rook a4, a rook left, and look at that. Very unstoppable with his pawns. He says, I've given up one, I'm going to give up another one to open up your king. Loose pieces drop off. The bishop clearance tactics here, opening up the line of the rook. And after queen takes bishop, the bishop on f3 is hanging.
So we saw a discover attack incoming anyways in the position, yeah. And by the way, queen takes v2 is a huge inaccuracy by Vishy here. So he should not be capturing that bishop. Even though, you know, if this was a blitz game, I would capture that bishop without thinking.
Yes, because you just want to get as many pieces off the board as quickly as possible.
Exactly, because your king is unsafe on e1 and you want to go into the endgame as much as possible. So Vishy right now in some trouble for sure.
I think it's quite a bit of trouble. You know, whenever he's got this bishop pair if you don't take on b2. And white's king, like you said, there is no safety that exists. It's hard to imagine, you know, you put it on f1, bishop h3 comes in with the check at the right moment.
Wow, that is scary indeed for Vishy, and I think Wei Yi looks very solid to me. By the way, we should take a quick look at the game of Stavroula and Divya, because guess what, Tanya? Despite her thinking for a very long time, she did play knight d5 and h5, which is so impressive.
Are you sure you weren't working with Stavroula 2 days ago?
No, it was not me, I promise. I didn't do it.
It wasn't me. All right, so let's back up to that moment that we were talking about it, and it was right here after b4 we left it. Stavroula did find the idea that Sahaj mentioned. Knight jumps to the center of the board and h5. Break this down for us.
Beautiful. I think the idea is very simple, that you want to dominate on the light squares basically. If you once you capture the pawn on h4, I capture everything, and my queen on h5 is going to be a beautiful piece, attacking the g5 pawn, putting pressure on the f7 pawn, and basically the black king is in huge trouble there.
I mean, just to show how powerful that queen would be, g5, queen h7, huge threats on the board. This would be an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
instead, kicks the knight comes back, picks up the pawn. Oh, that's
f5.
a
That's
lot
ambitious.
of pawn moves.
That's ambitious. She takes the pawn on g6, rook h1, bishop h1, and she pushes the pawn once again, attacking the bishop on f4. She retreats, I think only move in the position. And now she goes c5. Wow, Divya is, I think, very aggressive, yeah?
Very aggressive, but you know, it's also, I want to call it gutsy, but dangerous as well. She's made so many pawn moves. Look at the development that black currently has. Again, no safe spots for the king. And the white queen ready to jump into the attack either via g4 or h5. I'm actually really liking Stavroula's position here. Queen g4, queen h5, both very attractive options.
Queen g4 looks so amazing because you're targeting the e6 pawn and then long castle incoming. It looks so good. She plays it. She plays it. And she has almost double the time of Divya as well. This could be some problem for Divya.
No, huge problems, I think, on the board. And Divya's just overextended with her pawns. You know, instead of focusing on development, I think in those moments right now, putting pressure on e6, Stavroula is. So Divya's position, very difficult to defend, I think, in this one.
For sure, yeah. For sure. And by the way, there is another huge update coming. Pragg is now in an almost winning position against Arjun. Almost.
Wow.
Especially with his last move, f4, it looks very, very, very scary for Arjun, because not only the king side is vulnerable, there is no counterplay on the queen side whatsoever. That's the problem.
And for some reason, Arjun hasn't managed to get b5 in, or has at least delayed it. And it just looks like Pragg has made so much progress. h5, targeting g6, f4, asking for a decision at the center of the board. If you take pawn takes pawn, I think there are tactics. You can just immediately go with e5, winning big material.
This looks so bad. By the way, he does make a move, rook e8. I mean, at this point, he's just shuffling the pieces, yeah, because he's probably just waiting for his opponent to sort of overextend and then he can find his counterplay somehow.
And for some reason, he didn't want to go with b5. This is an idea that he didn't want. And I think the point is that you simply take on b5, you take on g6, and eventually white is just faster. Removes the knight, queen h2, and you start looking at entry squares on h7.
Oof. Yeah, that looks super scary.
Instead, rook e8, and this is where we are. It's Pragg to place edge.
I think now queen h2, just move the knight and then queen h2, something like this looks very, very appealing to me.
I mean,
Knight f3, queen h2, yeah? What do you, I mean, if I, okay, let me ask you a question. If I said pass here, what is black going to play? That's the problem.
Yeah, it's not easy to come up with a decision.
Like, let's say king a2 by white. There's no...
How are you improving the position? You know what I think he's set up? I wonder if he's set up pawn takes pawn. Okay, for example, king a2.
It doesn't even change the valuation
You
that
don't
much.
change it because you can even just, I think e5 still works in this position.
Wow.
It doesn't matter that the rook is there, or even just take an e5.
Wow. Yeah, I think this e5 idea is just genius.
It just makes sure that black gets no counterplay. But we do get a decision here. Pragg goes for the more direct pawn takes pawn.
I think the idea is that if you go with the h pawn, then I can target with queen h2.
Knight f3, queen h2.
Exactly. And if you take with the f pawn, then I can put my rook on h2. That way I can target the h7 pawn.
Very nice. So pawn takes pawn, you'll bring your knight, even eye the g5 square eventually, and then line up the queen and the rook. If you take with the f pawn instead, you'll get your rook up, double down, and put pressure on h7. Praggnanandhaa with a very dominating position in this one. Saj, we've got our evaluation bars across the screen as well, and there we see Wesley is completely crushing. That would be Murzin's second loss in a row.
Wow. Wow.
Wesley completely crushing. Pragg with a close to winning advantage. Nihal's position against Arvind is still in the balance. Vishy against Wei Yi and Vidit against Hans. All these three boards in the balance right now. Wesley, how's he getting it done?
Wesley looks like he is... I mean, actually, Wesley's actually looking quite worse now against Volodar. But Volodar's time is a bit of a problem here, because he only has a minute on the clock.
Oh, Wesley as well, not that much of an advantage, an extra close to 2 minutes actually, so maybe it does matter.
But is Murzin better here?
That's what I'm trying to understand, that Murzin,
Yeah, Murzin is better.
I thought when we saw our bars that it said that white had a huge advantage.
Maybe there was a miss somewhere by Wesley, or maybe it was a glitch. But yeah, I think Volodar is having a great position here with the black pieces. I mean, firstly, he's an extra pawn up, and then when you take that pawn on d4, my bishop on b7 is going to open up so fast.
Yes.
And that's going to cause huge problems for Wesley. So this could be...
But still far from over.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an advantage to Murzin because of that beautiful bishop pair currently and the bishop on b7, which can't be challenged. One of the bishops has been traded, but the b7 bishop, quite a sniper on the board, eyelining the g2 pawn. All right, so let's head back to our Vishy board as Wei Yi continues to push. I mean, he's coming for Vishy's king here.
The way he is just ice cold, yeah. I feel he is going... I don't know. He looks so scary in such situations because, again, you know, he has less time on the clock, but in a slow way, he's going to make the most deadliest move possible.
And that's the thing, you know, as calm a player is, and it gives this lethal vibe. It's like Mr. Cool, calm assassin on the board.
Yes, literally, yes. And like with Vishy, you can see, okay, there is some pressure on the board and you can see it. But with Wei Yi, like nothing, absolutely nothing. That's what makes him so scary. And look at that king on f1. Queen h5 incoming. You can double up on the f file, target the f2 pawn.
It almost starts to feel that Vishy needs a miracle to save this one. You know, the rook on h1 right now, not in the game. The knight on b6 disconnected as well. Can't come back because b3 is a tender soft spot here that Wei Yi's rook is lined up against. Meanwhile, beautiful bishop at the center of the board. Queen and the rooks on the open line. The queen ready to jump out at the right moment. Gives some deadly checks on h3. The bishop on e5, not only a great attacking piece, but also defends the black king.
Absolutely. Defending g7, attacking. So many great things. By the way, we do have update on the women's board. 2 boards have finished with a draw. Carissa Yip has drawn against Rakshitta Ravi and Nana Dzagnidze has drawn against Harika.
And speaking of women's board, well, I'm going to go to that. But first big update coming on the Vidit versus Hans. There's a queen that's missing on the board right now. And I want to just jump into that straight away. Hans Niemann has sacrificed a queen for a rook and a minor piece.
Okay, in such a scenario,
We have to back up. We have to back up and see how this happened first. Sorry, Saj.
okay, so he goes a4, rook d8. Curious. Okay, maybe he made a discover attack. Okay, so takes, rook e1, and now he goes bishop c5, like inviting bishop c7. I'm sure he saw this, and now he takes it, takes and takes on c7. Okay.
So it was a voluntary queen sacrifice right there. Bishop f3, the rook lines up, and rook d1. This is the move. This is the moment. So after queen takes pawn, actually, rook e1, Hans invited bishop to c7. This is what he wanted.
Yeah, and I think he sacrificed it on purpose. And now my question is,
Threatening rook d2. So stopped with rook d1.
but are you taking white or black here, Tanya?
That's a great question. You know, at first, I want to take the queen. And maybe even at the end, I want to take a queen. I'm quite biased towards the queen, but it does start looking a bit scary. I mean, imagine the rook lands on d3.
We don't have to imagine it because Hans
Oh.
just played it. Rook d3 on the board, and Vidit says, no, wait, are we going to see another exchange sacrifice? Let's go. Double bishop versus the queen.
Okay, what a game this has been by Hans Niemann. Whether this works or not, a positional queen sacrifice there.
You know, Tanya, a move like h6 is possible. Just h6. Very calm. I'm not
Can
doing
we
anything.
get our analysis board up? Let's just deep dive into this position. We've got the players on the screen, and here you're mentioning just simply h6. Bishop takes rook, and you're saying that my pawn on d3 is as valuable as a rook there.
I think my position is as valuable as it can be. Like with the bishop on c5, bishop on a6. I mean, I have all the activity in the world. I have knight g4 incoming. That pawn on d3 is a monster. Maybe if you give me the option, I'll even go rook e8, rook e2, and I'll sacrifice that rook too. You know, I'll go completely. Just let's go. You sacrifice the queen. You can't look back now.
I've just realized that, you know, when you're commentating, you really have no value for the players' pieces. You're like,
No,
but
no.
here I am with you. Here it makes perfect
You
sense.
should see my games. Like it's very similar, but usually it's in the form of a blunder.
Okay, by the way, no sacrifices. He says, I've given up a queen, I'm not giving up my rook. There's been a trade, but I think your line was maybe the right way to go. Bishop takes rook should have been allowed there. Instead, Hans now. That's the thing, right? When you're fighting against a queen, you need to be so precise. And that's why I'd always pick a queen against a rook and a minor piece. Because it just feels it's difficult to keep precision for so many moves.
That's true. That's true. But you know, it's not too late. You can still play rook d3. Actually, no, I'm joking. This time, don't play rook d3. I think that will be a bad move. Right now, you need to defend the c4 pawn somehow.
But I don't find a way.
You know, why I was going for rook d3 genuinely was because after a move like rook d3, you can play for a win as black. But now I feel Hans is not necessarily playing for a win here.
And you know, it feels like the idea of the queen sacrifice itself was fantastic. But then he's kind of lost the thread. Like you said, you've given up your queen, now you can't back up. It's like you've declared war and then you can't go back on it. And now you got to fight it out. In the
Exactly.
spirit of it.
Exactly. And let's see how the fight unfolds as they both have just a minute on the clock. What is Vidit going to play? Is he going to sacrifice that pawn on e3 or does he defend it somehow?
Well, bishop takes pawn. I wonder if that's something that you want to play here because rook c8, you still have b3.
I think bishop c4, I was thinking just take and rook e3. Okay.
Just take everything.
I'm
And then say that I've got a fortress. Bring the rook back to e6. Keep everything defended. Put your king on g7 and say that there's no inroads in that position.
Exactly. But right now, I think probably Hans is also trying to play for a win.
No, I actually think Vidit is trying to play
Wait.
for a win.
What is he
Queen
doing?
d2.
Wait, c3 is...
Whoa. Okay.
Hold
Queen
on.
takes pawn, bishop is hanging, but pawn takes pawn.
First of all, don't try this at home. This is very, very risky stuff. If he
He's
goes...
gonna take it. Pawn takes pawn. What? Knight. I forgot the knight on f6. LPDO. Did Hans forget that the knight on f6 is hanging?
Wait, so queen f6? Tanya, this cannot be won by...
What? It's a blunder.
No, it's not. I think it's a glitch, but I don't... This cannot be won by Vidit. This is a fortress. Because the rook on e6 defends b6.
You know, there is a certain Magnus Carlsen who doesn't believe in fortresses.
I think he will believe in this one. If you give me the pawn on e3 and the bishop on e, I'll even give you the bishop on e2. Even that should be a draw.
I don't know why, but I have a feeling that you're calling this a fortress a bit too soon, Saj. I still think that there's... Okay, firstly, queen d4. He centralizes the queen. I want to get my king up the game. I'm thinking about advancing these pawns.
Okay, you play h4, I play h5.
I'll play g4 and
Vidit is just repeating.
Whoa.
I think Vidit believes in the fortress.
Vidit believes in the fortress.
He's saying, no,
I take it back.
this is a very good fortress.
Just ignore the last 20 seconds. Yeah, I think Vidit... Okay, do you think he repeats for a third? Okay, come on, Vidit. You got to fight this. Because this is a risk-free position. My point is, fortress or not, white is never losing this. Why not just continue playing? Would Divya repeat here?
Touche. Nice. I think I would agree with you there. She wouldn't. Probably
She would keep playing. Wait. Oh, wait. What? He just offers a draw.
Yep.
And Hans takes it, Sahaj, on the money or with his call here.
Yeah, I think because it was difficult for the king to sort of, hop onto the other side of the board. So I think good decision by Vidit there. But yeah, he could have played, but the fortress was a bit difficult. And also saving some energy for round 3, yeah? There's still another round to be played.
While I get it, I still feel like the game could have continued. But like you said, there's another round to be played and probably for Vidit, very difficult to break through in this position. Let's quickly run over and rush over to Pragg versus Arjun. Last we left it felt like a Praggnanandhaa show. Has Arjun managed to consolidate his chances?
I don't know. His pieces look very cramped to me. The bishop on f6, knight on g5, rook on f7. They don't. I believe let's just look at Arjun's last 5 moves, Tanya.
All right, let's do it. So let's start from this moment.
Yeah.
He got the queen to f8. Pragg putting pressure on a4. Arjun says, I'll defend it. And Arjun just shuffles the rook to another inconspicuous square. Not much with a threat. Just shuffling around is what you're saying.
Exactly.
That not much has happened. The rook and the queen have swapped a few spaces.
Exactly. He's just saying, okay, you are the one who has to break the fortress. I will just move my pieces around. He goes king f8.
He's basically playing responding chess, right? When Pragg puts pressure on c5, Arjun defends it. When Pragg puts pressure on g6 with his rook or attacks the bishop, he places his rook accordingly. And now we're going to see Arjun saying, my king is safest on the other side of the board.
Could be, but before that king reaches on the other side, there must be a breakthrough somehow. And I see one very crazy breakthrough here. Tanya, is d6 possible in this position? Please tell me yes.
I love it, but Praggnanandhaa has 15 seconds. Will he go all out and commit to d6, fighting for that d5 square, a juicy post for his knight to jump to?
But very difficult. 6 seconds for Pragg. Okay. Play now.
You got to move. Has he forgotten about the clock? At 2, what? He made that move with 1 second on the clock.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Tanya also got her from the chair because she couldn't
Because
believe it.
I got the feeling that he forgot about the clocks.
Yes.
It's ahead.
Yes, for sure. Okay, he goes for... He's going to play a move. Plays queen e8.
Okay, so a big blunder, by the way, queen e8 is right now. Wait, do you just take the pawn and rook h8?
Rook h8, yes. Oh, that's a big...
He's lined up the queen and the king. Praggnanandhaa about to get the victory here.
No, I'm telling you what happened.
What happened?
When Pragg had just a second on the clock, even Arjun thought that he's going to lose, and that, I think, just took him...
Yes.
It took his focus away.
And
That's what
Pragg
happened.
played it so calmly. With 1 second, he's going to swoop up the rook now. There was no way to take pawn takes pawn. A pawn arrives on h7. Wow, for Arjun, staring at his second loss in a row.
I don't think I've seen that I don't know. It feels like...
Not in 2025.
I don't think in 2025 it has happened even once. That's crazy. Not in Rapid and Blitz for sure. Queen e3 goes. Attacking both the pawn and the knight on g5.
Who cares about a pawn when you have one on h7? A beautifully defended pawn. I mean, how does white land up with a pawn on h7? You have to be completely winning here.
Yeah, rook h6 also should be winning. So many moves.
If you're greedy, just pick up the c5 pawn. That's what I would do.
So it's not... You can never have too many pawns. Yeah? Just queen c5. Very, very
I'll
nice.
pick up the c7 pawn as well.
Absolutely.
Just one by one. Clean up the floor here. Wow, this is, that moment when Pragg made that move. I'm telling you, like from 15 seconds coming down, second by second, he had a second left.
And since that moment, I think Pragg has just been dominating. By the way, two results have also happened in the open section. Vishy has drawn his match against Wei Yi. You can see them get up, on the other side of the screen. And then Nihal has defeated Arvind with the white pieces. That's a huge result for
Wow.
Nihal.
And also Vishy surviving against Wei Yi. Do you remember that position? His king stuck in the middle of nowhere. So that's a big save by Vishy. And what a start it's been from him for a first round victory, a second round save. We'll stay there till the end of this one and see Pragg put the final touches here.
Let's see what happens as he goes king 8. By the way, this is a very rare sight because Arjun is down 3 pawns and there is literally no compensation. Zero compensation in the position.
It's like white has all the compensation and the extra material.
Yes, and sorry, 4 pawns, not 3.
Yes, make that 4. And that's it. Arjun 4 pawns down completely. That was demolition by Praggnanandhaa in that game. Fantastic victory by him, but for Arjun, he needs to come back. He needs to do it quick. He's going into a spiral right now. 2 losses in a row. I would almost call it a must-win for him for any chances of the podium finish.
Absolutely, and we'll get to his next game, by the way, as we see the match against Stavroula and Divya. And is that her king on d6?
Is that an extra piece for Stavroula, more importantly,
yes.
right now?
Oh,
That's a bishop and a pawn. This is completely over. And Divya, she's playing on. No surprises there.
Well, she was playing in the previous game as well when the position was dead drawn, and now she's playing as well. I think she's probably regretting that decision of going for the modern, but Stavroula played really well. You have to give it to her. Finding h5 in those critical moments was a very, very difficult decision. She thought for about some 4 minutes before she played something. Well, actually 6 minutes and 22
And that's
seconds.
it. We have a results ahead. Divya does resign in that position. By the way, 2 very close friends, Divya and Stavroula here.
Really?
They've spent a lot of time together in team championships in Europe. And in this one, she sits down to analyze. We've got one more game going on. Kateryna against Vantika. Divya resigning there. And Vantika, she resigns down a piece in that final position. And that's it.
Yep, that is it. That means there is no player with full points in the women's section so far. And in the open section, by the way, one more result has happened. Wesley So has defeated Volodar Murzin.
So Wesley makes a comeback after his first round loss against Viswanathan Anand. For Murzin and for Arjun, that's 2 back-to-back losses to start the day with.
It has to be a shocker for both of these players, and I think they're looking to make their comeback. They both have white pieces.
Yeah.
Good chances.
Some fantastic starts, some players looking for a comeback, and with that, we will come back as well in just a few. We're going to a short break, but there is a final round of the day coming up. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone. We've got our final round of the day coming up, starting very, very soon. And to set the stage, let's bring up our standings, because what a storyline it's been so far. Look at the name right at the top. Sahaj Vishy Anand with the first round win. And what a crushing one that was against Wesley So, and drawing, saving a very difficult game against Wei Yi. He's tied for first with 4 other players. And guess what? Out of the top 5, we've got 4 Indians.
That is insane, actually. Who would have thought? I mean, Vishy, Vidit, Nihal, and Pragg all dominating with 1.5. And of course, Hans. Let's never count out Hans from this equation, because I think for me, he is kind of a favorite. I don't know about you, Tanya.
You know, I think he's the kind of player that everybody loves to watch, and the fights that he brings on, always entertaining. So would love to see him go the distance here as well. Saj, I want to point out that at the Tata Steel Chess India Rapid, the last time we had an Indian winner was back in 22, and that was Arjun Erigaisi. In 23, it was Maxime Vachier-Lagrave who took it. In 24, it was Magnus Carlsen who won both Rapid and Blitz. So we'll find out what happens in this one. Still early days, but what a start it's been for a 5-time world champion. Lots of results there. And for some players, they're still to get on the leaderboard.
Absolutely. And of course, we're talking about Arjun Erigaisi, who's still on 0 out of 2. That's a huge shocker, I think, for me personally. And I'm sure, Tanya, you feel the same about this, because he has just coming off of a double bronze in the World Rapid and Blitz. And now this is not something that was on his cards.
I don't think anyone expected this. Arjun, one of the heavy big favorites. He's the top seed of the tournament as well, and having a start with 0 out of 2. But you know what? If anyone can make a comeback from this, it's him. And the reason I say that is because he's the kind of player who doesn't let the score really affect his mentality. He'll come back with the same vengeance. He wants to fight out every game, play for the win in every round. And it's all about getting that first win. And suddenly momentum can shift. Do you think it happens in the next one? Speaking of that, let's bring up our pairings to see what the matchups are. And this is the action coming up in store for the men's.
And Arjun playing against Nihal Sarin, I think that's going to be a huge one. Aravindh versus Vishy, also another big matchup, I think, for both of these players. Then we have Wei Yi versus Wesley. Kind of a solid match. Not really sure what's going to happen there. Then we have the former world rapid champion Volodar Murzin going against Vidit Gujrathi. Vidit, I think, has been in spectacular shape so far. I think he can score a win here as well. Then we have, I think, for me, the match of the day, Hans versus Pragg.
Oof.
Absolute fireworks incoming, I think, on this match.
Yeah, both players with 1.5 points. How will they end their day one is the big question when Hans takes on Pragg. And I have to say, I mean, for Murzin as well, it's the same story as Arjun, right? 0 out of 2, needs to get on that leaderboard to put up a fight on that. Let's also bring up our women's standings and pairings as we go into the final round of the day. And there we have it. What a storyline this has been for the players. For Harika, she takes on Vantika. Divya is playing against Rakshita. And I have to say, at least on paper, Divya is a big favorite in that one.
Absolutely, but let's not forget, Rakshita has not lost a single game so far. She has made 2 draws back-to-back, one against Goryachkina and then the second one against Carissa Yip. So I think she's been holding her own, but then Divya is going to bring out that attack, early on, and you never know what's going to happen there. So I think going to be an exciting match.
And there we've got the players. They are ready to go. They are set for that final game of day 1 of Rapid of Tata Steel Chess India. All the women players, as usual, arriving first. And in the men's section, I see, well, actually, Vidit, he's already ready. He's taken his place against his opponent, Murzin. He's there as well. Arjun versus Nihal. That's going to be a banger of a match. So much on the line, especially for Arjun. I think he has to find a way to get on the leaderboard. And he has to do it with a win.
The last time Nihal played against Arjun was in the World, I believe it was a World Rapid Championship, the World Blitz Championship, where Nihal had to play for a win, but then they agreed to a draw within, I think 2 or 3 minutes going into the match, which was a huge shocker for us, because if Nihal had won, then he would be in the standings as well. He would be in the playoffs as well, but that did not happen, sadly. And then now they are playing again, 10 days later against each other, and I think I'm not even sure how this match is going to unfold, but it's going to be exciting chess.
And this one has to be a marquee matchup as Hans Niemann with the white pieces takes on Praggnanandhaa. And I'm going to throw this one to chat. Chat, what do you think? Who gets the win, or will this end peacefully? I say peacefully, but when it comes to these two, nothing is peaceful in life.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think Pragg for me is the most dangerous player with the black pieces, and Hans is just the guy who can do anything at any point. So for me, this is the match of the day for me.
What a way to end day 1. This will be 2 players at the top of the leaderboard, both with 1.5 out of 2. Pragg with his big win in the previous round against Arjun. Hans Niemann with a draw against Vidit, winning that first game as well. So both showing incredible form in this one. And take in that picture, you've got Arjun and Nihal at the back, Vishy getting ready for his battle. And there it is, it's handshakes, it's go time.
Absolutely, and he starts off with the king's pawn opening, e4 on the board, and we have Caro. I feel like it's the day off for Caro Khan. Yeah, all the players, wherever we look, they're just going for Caro Khan these days.
It kind of does feel like it's becoming the opening of choice at Tata Steel, right? We'll have to do a survey on how many caros we've had today, and it's always been exactly this, with the pawn moving forward, the advanced variation, and the bishop coming out. This is what is mainline theory against the caro.
Yep, the short variation, black goes e6, he goes bishop e2, very, very classical, very typical, one of the most popular variations inside the Caro Khan. He goes knight d7. The bar always says that white is better here, but when you go deeper and deeper, you realize that it is really not that simple, because not a single piece, not a single pawn has been traded so far.
And for Pragg, he'll try to get that c5 break in as and when he can. He starts with first expanding with the other pawn.
Wait, that's Gukesh's. I'm sure that Gukesh played this in Grand Swiss against someone. But this a5 idea. I remember thinking about it that it is crazy, and then I looked it up. Actually, quite a nice idea there. You want to go a5, a4, and then you want to bring the queen to a5 at some point. But it does kind of take your opponent out of book, which could be key in this match. See, he goes a4, threatening a3, and he goes bishop d2. Why? How is Hans playing?
He doesn't look like he's too perturbed with what has happened. He says, you know what, I've seen that game of Gukesh as well. And he's ready to take the battle with the speed with which he's playing. Bishop d2, very quick response.
Genuinely shocked by how quickly he played bishop d2 on the board. I think usually when your opponent sidesteps from mainstream theory, you are the one who's supposed to think, but now you have that Uno reverse card. Pragg, it's your turn. You cannot play queen f5 because there must be some discovered idea. Knight d5, knight d4, I don't know which one, but must be something. Wait.
The queen isn't trapped.
Wait, is it?
I know what you're looking at.
I had a crazy line, but it's sadly not working. Let's show it anyway. If queen f5,
you want to go knight takes pawn?
Knight takes d5.
I knew it, and this is where I was like, the queen isn't trapped after c4 because of queen e4.
You're too fast. You're too fast.
I just know you for too many years.
Yeah, but this is so cool. If the bishop was on e4, it would be such a beautiful line to
trap the queen at the center of the board.
But yes, absolutely. But now queen f5 still feels risky because you have knight e4, knight b5, so many moves.
Yes.
So now what does Pragg do? He has to develop his knight, I'm guessing.
And for a3, you always have the response of b3, just keeping everything under control.
Exactly. Beautiful idea. And b3 might even help me with playing c4 as well in later stage of the game. So,
and that's why Pragg just goes into a think. He slows down, surprised as we are with Hans's quick bishop to d2. We'll come back to this. Let's do an opening tour, an opening roundup. Where do we go next ahead?
I think we can go to the game with where they played the Italian opening, and I think two of them. With each, I think we should do a game out of this. In each game, there's going to be one match that's going to have the Italian opening.
I think in both sections, in women and in the open.
Absolutely. So let's maybe check out the game of Arvind versus Vishy as they play the Italian opening in this game. He has just gone for c3. Basically what Arvind is saying that you can never play a6 and put your bishop to a7, because the moment you play a6, I'm going to take that bishop on b6 and I'm going to damage your pawn structure. And now Vishy has to think. He cannot move the pawn, so what does he do? Does he play bishop e6?
And so now it feels like Vishy is going to lose the bishop pair now. I just want to back up because this isn't your standard Italian position. With knight a4, bishop, usually black does play a6 and is able to get the bishop to retreat safely.
Absolutely, but this is the line with knight c3. Usually what happens, so I think we can go through it. Then bishop c4, bishop c5, knight c3, knight f6, castle, castle, castle d6, and now knight a4. So the idea usually here is that when black goes bishop b6, usually you want to play d3, short castle, and usually you want to take on b6 and play a3. That's the normal way to go about this. But now with c3, I believe this is Arvind trying to confuse Vishy in some way.
And Vishy says, I'm not going to get confused. I'm coming for your own bishop. Goes knight a5. We see the trade that you're talking about. White slides the bishop, so refusing to give the bishop pair Arjun is, but has to trade now eventually. And after bishop to d7, bishop takes bishop, queen takes bishop. Looks like a pretty healthy outcome for black. You know, you've got your rook already on the open files ahead right now. Pawn captured towards the center. After queen takes d7.
After
Maybe
queen
even knight
d7,
takes d7.
I really like knight h4 after queen d7 because then I have some attacking ideas. Because if your queen was on d8, then you would have knight takes pawn and queen takes knight. So now this f4 bishop g5 business looks a bit scary.
So knight takes bishop, controlling the h4 square. It still looks like a slow game.
Yes, but he does go queen takes d7. Is he going to go knight h4 now? Is that the best move? Or not really?
Did you know that Geico piano, we call this the Italian or the Geico piano, that literally translates into the slow game?
You know, I actually discovered this on commentary.
Same.
And I didn't know
I
it.
don't know why we are high-fiving it.
None of us knew it, and I was like, oh yeah, I tried to play it off as no, it was a play.
I'm gonna admit to exactly that. I was going to say that I'll admit to something a little embarrassing, that I always thought that Geico piano was named after maybe an Italian player, or you know, a player who basically started playing the Italian very early on.
Like Greco, right? Because Greco is a famous Italian
Yeah,
player.
like Raul Lopez.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that's what I thought as well. And yeah, sad days.
Let's move on from that, because we do have a move Vishy does capture with the queen. So things looking pretty much in balance so far in this position.
Absolutely, I think.
Let's move over to Vidit's board. Vidit versus Volodar. Speaking of balanced Italians, this one looks anything but.
Why is the pawn on g5? And okay, he probably wanted to get rid of the pin. But you know, this is the type of position with each move you like the other side more. After black plays g5, I will like black more. But I know in a couple of moves, white will get some attack, and then I will start liking white's position more, and then it will just continue like this. Such a topsy-turvy position. Like for example, if white gets d4 at some point, and it is not, you know, evident why it's a bad move, suddenly the black's king side looks very, very expanded to me.
Yes. And has that been an overextension though by Vidit is the big question here. Will this ambitious play come to bite back? Early days in this one, but Vidit on the camera looks like unconcerned. That, you know, and he's got more time than what he started with. He's got 16 minutes, 15 seconds on the clock. So it's definitely something that's been in his preparation.
Absolutely. I think Vidit playing really well. I mean, also, I mean, his Italian preparation has been fantastic. Yeah, I mean, you remember when he defeated Hikaru in the candidates, it was Italian, that bishop takes h3. So you can always trust him in this opening. And plus, his king is on g7, pawn is on g5. He knows he's on the attack, so he would feel a bit more relaxed here. But the position that doesn't feel relaxed to me whatsoever is the game between Arjun and Nihal.
As expected, I mean, these two players with their character, their style of play, balanced is not usually the nature of the game when it comes to them.
Firstly, why is that queen on a2?
If I had to make a guess, the queen from d1 went to b3, was attacked by the knight and had to fall back to a2.
Yeah, but why is it on a2? You know, I think he wants to go b4
The
as
more
well.
philosophical question you meant.
Why? Oh, by the way, is bishop c2 possible? No, it's not actually. This b4. I was thinking some bishop c2, bishop
That's a
b3.
beautiful idea.
Sadly, does not work. Also, it's white to play, so maybe Arjun can go short castle, bishop e2, short castle, and maybe go for some b4 ideas. I think this is the type of position. This is a very Arjun type of a position. I think here he has good chances. Very soon, I'm sure he's going to throw some h3, g4, and create some chaos on the board, and do something.
95, get the pawns up the board.
Absolutely.
We'll see all of that. And he's about to make his decision, expecting, oh, he goes b4. So he does go for a direct approach. He attacks the knight, forces it to retreat.
Okay, and now bishop e2 or h3, g4. That has Arjun written all over it, that move. h3, g4. Let's go for it.
I think he's
Come
going
on,
to
Arjun, play h3. He's going for that side. You know it.
Oh, he goes bishop e2.
No, I think he's planning knight e5 and g4.
He wants to. You really think Arjun's going to go g4 for the score?
Yeah. I don't know. He just does crazy things like that, and
All
it seemed
right.
to work out for him.
We'll come back to this. Let's move over to our women's section and do a quick roundup on the action that's happening there. Divya Deshmukh with a crazy but a very good, strong position. I mean, this looks I have to say, optically, it looks lost for black. King in the center, c6 pawn is hanging, e6 is traded, Divya's got her castle in, the bishop on g2 beautiful, the queen on c2 eyeing c6.
Tanya, the point is queen takes c6, queen takes 8. And that way, I think you are just getting material back with interest. Right now, Divya's down a piece.
No, this has to be a blunder. There has to be a miss. Let's just see what happened here because it feels like this is a miniature.
Wow, so c5, this is what, okay, castle is a very important move. I remember someone took knight d4 in the Women's World Blitz Championship. I
Let's
think
show
it was Divya, but I'm not sure. Like, I don't want to say, but I think it was. But anyway, she goes short
And
castle.
that allows e5 and a lot of play.
Yes, and that's why you go short castle first, so you make your opponent waste a tempo with h6. Bishop f4, very nice move. Knight c6, knight d4, e6. Wow, this is a very nice preparation by Divya there.
She
Takes
lines
the
up
pawn.
the queen and I can sense the making of that. Whoa, and a blunder here. She just missed pawn takes pawn and queen c6 coming in with a check, winning the piece, pawn takes pawn. And the point is that after bishop takes bishop, the beautiful intermezzo, Divya doesn't capture back on f4. If you take back on f4, then black can simply capture on d5, queen c6, you have bishop d7, everything under control. But the point is, Saj, after bishop d6, pawn takes pawn, and this was missed by Rakshita.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think with that, Divya should be completely winning here already. She's 2 pawns up. And I saw some more moves being played. Shortcut. Wait, she took gf4? Why not take the pawn first and then gf4? That would be an extra pawn, no?
Probably just wants to go for the c6 pawn.
Still she's better, but I mean, that would be an extra pawn there. But yeah, still
That
I
makes
think
a lot of sense.
very healthy position for Divya. I think she should be able to convert this one.
Okay, so Divya with a big early advantage, and let's check in with Goryachkina and Carissa Yip. Carissa playing with the white pieces here. Both players on 1.5 out of 2 have had a good start to the tournament.
I was kind of thinking, how did Vidit's game also just pop up here? Because we had the exact same setup in that game as well with h6 and g5. But yeah, I like this position for black. But the problem is that white has sort of blocked the king side with this h4 move. And now black cannot make any progress on the king side. And let's not forget, Tanya, there's queen h6. And that pawn on h5, who's defending that?
And very often to fight against that idea of queen h6, black needs to make the move king to g7 to stop it from getting there. But hasn't, and maybe that's why the question mark appears. This could be the moment that Carissa could swoop in with her queen and put immediate pressure.
I think you're just losing the pawn on h5 by force. And if she doesn't play it, I mean, Goryachkina should just look on the other side because Vidit has played king g7 here on his board. So it could be, I think, a nice move there.
All right, well, we will keep an eye out on this. Carissa, she looks like she's ready. She's almost frozen in time there, you know, her hand halfway in the air. Ready to make a move, and she instead goes for a central break with d4. Also a very strong approach, Sahaj. With the pawns extended on the king side, an opening up of the center can only favor Carissa.
Absolutely. And if she goes knight g6, which seems very natural here,
Then your move.
then just queen h6 and boom. g6 is hanging, h5 is hanging. One of them is going to get taken.
I think the game gets taken if that was to happen. All right, let's move back to our open section. We'll check in with the women in just a few.
So, you know, so far in the open section, only one player seems to have a very solid advantage, and that player is Hans Niemann against Pragg.
How did I know that you were going to go there? I just had the board ready. I could feel it.
Because this is such a crazy match, I think, between these two players, and also this decides who's going to be the leader of this event going in, you know, when we finish the first day. Do you think we will have one leader, Tanya, or do you think there will be multiple?
I think there'll be more than one.
More than one?
I think there'll be two.
Two leaders.
I think we end in the men's section with 2 leaders, in the women's section with also 2 leaders.
So who will be those 2 leaders?
This is tough. I will keep this for later. Give me a bit, I'll tell you. But all right, Hans looking really good in the position right now. I'm going to start from where we left it last. It was around this point when Hans played bishop d2 that really impressed you. And Pragg could feel the pressure. After a very long think, he went with a3. Hans blocks the queen side. After h6, a mysterious rook c1, but again, the idea is that eventually you want to push that c pawn up the board. So Hans setting that up. He's making these slow improving moves, gets the other rook into the game. Pragg fighting, struggling a little bit with his piece development currently. Still to castle, and look at that, Hans in a beautiful, harmonious way, has managed to set up the idea of c4 eventually. The knight comes back to e2, and Pragg, desperate for space, strikes in the center. Continuing on the offense, now a big threat of picking up the bishop on g6.
Maybe some g4 ideas also on the cards.
I love that.
Because that knight is borderline trapped. Okay, you can take on
g4,
d4.
c4.
And your king is still in the center. Rooks are not connected. Looks... yeah, this doesn't look very promising for Pragg.
Let's just show that. Your point that after shot castle, it's a move that you really want to make. And now you've got these ideas of taking on g6, pawn takes g6, you push g4, and eventually the g6 pawn will be left hanging.
Exactly. G4, I think, is a very dangerous set. In fact, this kind of looks like French, but with the bishop out. Usually the bishop is on c8, but now it's on g6. But I'm not really sure if that helps black. You know, generally this is the argument between French and Caro-Kann, that Caro-Kann allows the bishop to come out. But here, I don't know if that's a good thing.
Do you think psychologically it's a little difficult for players to play against Hans?
I think it can be, but not Pragg, I think. Pragg, I think, wouldn't care in this sense. I think I mean, for him, I think he just plays what's on the board.
Yes, I think for these players, they are so used to these high pressure positions, and I love that super chat there pointing out that, you know, Hans right now positionally feels dominating against Pragg right now. Pragg with a fantastic win against Arjun in the previous round. But right now it's all a Hans show.
Absolutely. I think it's always difficult to play against Hans because his rise has been so great in that sense, you know,
And so dramatic as well.
So dramatic as well at the same time.
And I've always felt whichever side of the story you're on when it comes to Hans Niemann, you have to give the credit for just the strength with which he's still there. He's still at the top. He still talks about, you know, his aim of becoming world champion. He has these tournaments where he shows up and has, like he did in Doha, finishing tied for second. It's so easy to crumble under pressure. But Hans Niemann over the past few years has shown that he has that strength of character to kind of use it to fuel himself further.
This is the one thing that I think separates him from a lot of people, which is that I think when it comes to pressure, I think he had the most pressure at some point. And now, I mean, he not only came back stronger, he just dominated, yeah, at like to an extent for sure. And now he is one of the elites, and I think he very much deserves to be there.
And actually getting a good result in Tata Steel Chess India, you know, with the field that is there right now, would be really up his card of starting 2026. I mean, both these players will be seen in Viking action as well. So really wanting to get that momentum in.
For sure, I think, for Hans. And I think this is a great first day because he is, I think, on the verge of taking down Pragg. And with that, he would be one of the leaders after the first day. And that's a great start.
And, you know, one player who hasn't had a great start is Arjun Erigaisi, and Sehed Nihal currently in his game. Look at what he's done. He's pushed his G pawn forward, hitting Arjun's bishop. Knight on e4 beautifully planted. Knight on b5 looking good. Basically just killing that knight on a4, which is still one move away from coming into the game and can be pushed out of there any moment. g5, g4. Is Nihal playing for the advantage here?
Think you don't make a move like g5 unless you think you have something in the game. I think for sure Nihal is playing for a win here. And if you move the bishop back to g3, you have h5, h4. I mean, so many attacking ideas on the king side, and you have completely blocked the queen side as well. No counterplay there for Arjun there. Yeah, I think this is, you could be looking at 0 out of 3 for Arjun.
Oof. No, that's a devastating start. And that also for a big tournament favorite.
Yes. Going into first day, definitely he was. By the way, he goes bishop e5, provokes f6, the golden pawn. White goes bishop g3, and now h5. Let's go.
So there's a big threat to trap the bishop with h4. And the problem is that if you try to make a luft, a space for that bishop, you're already looking at ideas of knight takes bishop, getting the pawn structure destroyed, a potential g4 with a hook on the board. Of h3, and Arjun pauses. No easy decisions. He's forced to create space for the bishop. Not a happy call here.
And now that was a mistake. Can I just chop that bishop on g3 or is that a bad move?
It looks like the most natural move in the position. Just take that bishop. That was my first line of thought as well. Queen c7, attacking the pawn. And guess what? King h2 and chat. h4 would be pretty much busted.
Ooh.
Suddenly, all of white's pieces too far away from the king. No way to defend g3. This is absolutely crushing. Speaking of crushing, Hans Niemann is absolutely crushing Praggnanandhaa right now.
Wow. Look at that move.
Can we bring up our analysis board? Let's just look at the lines that Hans has.
Bishop
Let's
takes
start.
e6. That is beautiful. Tanya, look at this. If you take f e6, knight takes e6, queen b6, and now I'm just going to play knight f takes d4 because I want to defend my knight.
And
Would you take it? Would you take my knight? Actually, you can. I was thinking
But-
queen h5.
But knight d4, you still have the idea. I was wondering why you're not just going for the rook.
Exactly.
to start
Just take the rook on 8. I was thinking queen h5, but yeah.
It's still better for white. Your plan, knight c7, knight takes rook is game over on the
Yeah.
spot. But I just wondered, this is a brilliancy by Hans. Let's also have our players on the screen right now as we have the board here. And Sahaj, bishop h7. c4 was played. This was an idea that we were advocating for Hans here. Pawn takes pawn, bishop takes pawn. And this is where the action started. I have no doubts that Pragg completely missed this move. It's just not on your radar.
I mean, it completely looks busted for him. He goes short castle, bishop d5, and now e6 isn't coming in the next move. And then suddenly your king safety is just gone. And let's not forget that b7 pawn as well.
Bishop takes pawn, defends the b7 pawn, also fighting against the e6 threat. But are you really? Is this the moment that Hans just goes all out with e6?
There can't be a better moment, right? Unless you have b4 on your mind and then you play e6. But I think e6, just go for it. Takes. And he plays it. Wow. And look at that time difference, Tanya. 10 minutes. Pragg having 2 minutes and 45 seconds and Hans having 12 minutes on the clock. I mean, what is going on?
Yeah, what a moment this is. I mean, Hans with bishop takes pawn, takes that pawn, and now it's his own pawn that arrives there. Very difficult decisions for Pragg. He's low on the clock, and the clock isn't even his biggest problem. Pawn takes pawn. He's going to recapture it with the bishop. If you take it with the knight, knight takes knight comes in with the fork on the queen and the rook.
So king h8 is forced. And now knight e5, yeah?
Beautiful. I mean, you get the king here, knight e5. That's like the Kolkata Knight Riders.
Amazing. Oh, I see a beautiful tactic. If you play queen e8, in this position, there is rook takes c5. I think it works. Rook takes c5, bishop takes c5.
Sorry.
What happened?
Now then queen e8,
Rook
stopping
c5.
stopping f7.
No, not stopping f7. You take the
Stopping knight f7, Saj.
No, not knight f7. You go rook c5.
But it does stop knight f7. Queen e8 stops knight f7.
Yes, that is true. But the idea is really cool. So you go rook c5, bishop c5, and now bishop d7. And the queen has no squares.
Okay, that is stunning. Because after queen e7, guess what? Knight g6, thank you very much, and I win the queen.
Exactly. And if you put the queen anywhere else, there's still 96 check is completely winning. What
Okay.
a beautiful position.
So this is the live board. Bishop e6 check. Pragg absolutely busted. But Hans still needs to finish this off. So the move that we're looking at here is knight e5. Get that knight to the center of the board.
Easy.
An
yeah?
absolute nightmare. Oh, he's reaching for it, Saj. He does it.
Easy. Let's go. If you're gonna say queen 8, rook c5, I mean that will be insane. I think it's possible. Very much possible. Pragg goes for still thinking 1 minute on the clock. And now, what is he gonna play?
Very tough moment. And once again, both these players, 1.5 out of 2, have had a great start to their day. But it looks like it'll be Hans Niemann with a great finish to the day.
Is he gonna play queen e8? I'm just rooting for queen e8 because I just want to see that rook c5, bishop d7 tactic on the board, Tanya. It's beautiful.
Let's do a recap of that. So right now, knight e5 has a big threat of coming in with a check on f7 or on g6. The move queen e8 protects both these squares. And now the stunning rook takes knight. Get rid of a key defender as well as a clearance tactic. You're clearing up the e line, and now bishop d7 would be end of the game. Instead, we've got moves. Knight takes bishop is what Pragg has gone for. He's about to lose an exchange in the position.
He gets some activity back, at least in the form of light squares, which I think is a good thing. But now Hans also, he doesn't have to take on f8. He can play knight c7 also, and he just plays it actually.
He does it. He's going for the other exchange at the end of the board, and this is a positional idea. He's going to force Praggnanandhaa's rook to a very inactive square.
Actually queen, yeah, because he can repeat also with knight e6, knight e7. But okay, I think
That'll be like having too much fun.
Yeah, too much fun. Queen takes, and now queen h5, just simple. Knight g6 check incoming, and we might
even see the white rook swoop up the board, just infiltrating on the 7th rank with ideas against the bishop. And Hans doesn't know how to stop. He just keeps going forward.
I think he's just dominating in this position.
All right, Hans Niemann with a crushing position right now. Wei Yi, by the way, also looking good against Wesley. Let's get a quick update on that. Look at this position, Sahaj. Wei Yi's king on b1 and Wesley's king on e8. Which one is feeling the heat? Also,
Good
Wei Yi
question.
has an extra pawn. I think that's the defining feature.
No, whichever side Wei Yi is feeling, is from it. I think he has ice in his veins. He doesn't feel pressure in that sense. Yeah, I think he's just gonna make very calm moves, and he's gonna be fine. So I'm gonna take white here.
Wei Yi with that extra pawn, black just lacking the firepower for the attack. Notice how the bishop and the rook control the c3 square. Just no big attack. The knight on d4 takes care of the soft spot on c2. So that's an extra pawn. And pieces looking good for Wei Yi. Meanwhile, Nihal Sarin as well, crushing and crashing through right now. He's the one with the extra pawn, and the trade did happen on g3, and Nihal went on to win that pawn. We just left it around here. Sahaj, knight takes bishop, pawn takes knight, bishop d6, attacking the pawn. Impossible to be defended. And this is where we are. Arjun in trouble.
I think I'm liking this idea of sort of doubling down on this diagonal with bishop c7, queen d6, setting up some kind of a battery there.
And coming in with huge checks on the king side. Let's go back to Hans Niemann versus Praggnanandhaa, because I have a feeling this one's about to finish any moment right now. Hans, he's up in exchange. He just put pressure on the knight. And look at the speed with which he's coming in.
Wow.
Sahaj, is there a knockout move here? He attacks the rook.
I think he just resigns here.
And the knight falls. The white rook is about to pick up the knight on the next move. Praggnanandhaa is about to be down a whole piece.
The most impressive thing is that he still has 12 minutes on the clock, and there it is. He resigns, and Hans wins his third match. With that, he has 2.5 out of 3, and he's going to be one of the leaders at the end of day one.
Yeah, what a fantastic day one this has been for Hans Niemann, making his debut at Tata Steel Chess India and arriving in full style. And I don't mean the haircut, I mean the chess that he's been producing today. Ends the day with 2.5 out of 3. He drew with Vidit. He got that first round win in with that beautiful king march against Murzin, and eventually takes down Praggnanandhaa.
Basically, both wins with white and one draw with black. I think you cannot ask for a better day than that for Hans. I think he's looking very, very strong in that sense. And this is the game of Aravindh versus Vishy. Vishy trying to put some pressure on that e5 pawn, but Aravindh holding on for now. Let's also not forget that there is a pawn on a4 as well, which could be a potential target in the future. So you can see white's rook defending that pawn on a4. Basically, it's stuck defending that pawn on a4, and you have to also defend e5 as well. Could be some problems here for Aravindh.
And the clock really is a big problem in such a position where Vishy can play slow, kind of judge with the attack, shifting from a move like queen c6 eventually, targeting c3, targeting a4, also putting pressure on e5, potentially threatening f6 at the right moment with the queen on e1 being pinned. So things can get tricky for Aravindh. He doesn't have so much time, and I saw that camera switch. I think let's go to Divya's board, Sahaj, and get an update on that.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Divya is playing against Rakshita. She was having not a winning position, but close to a winning position. But looks like Rakshita has fought back, and she's also ahead on the on the clock. And honestly, if you ask me to choose a color here, I'm choosing black.
So Sahaj saying that he really likes Rakshita's position with the better pawn structure, the more active pieces there. And a rook lift by Divya, trying to kick that queen out right now. Is this the moment that you capture on f5? Rakshita does. And Divya was setting up the queen and the rook lining up with a potential check on e8 to get rid of the rook defending the c5 pawn. All right, so this one's still going to be a bit of a battle here. Let's move on to Carissa versus Goryachkina. It's an endgame here, and I'm doing a quick counter hedge, an extra pawn for Carissa. A very healthy extra pawn and beautifully placed minors. Everything is consolidated in the center of the board. Look at the piece placement.
I'm looking at that knight on h7 and I'm thinking, who is defending that? My next two moves are rook h1 and e5. You can defend however you want. Just don't take my pawn. If you take my pawn, I'll take it back. That's it. If you attack anything, I defend. So rook h1, e5 are my two next moves.
I love it. And it almost feels like an unstoppable idea. I did realize that the knight at h7 felt like a dead piece, like a dead horse there, but rook h1 actually kills it. Rook h1, e5, incredibly strong. So Carissa Yip here looking at finishing the day on a high. Both these players at 1.5 out of 2. Goryachkina in trouble in this one. And Sahaj, let's get a quick check-in on the Vantika Harika board.
Whoa, look at that rook on f5. That's amazing. That bishop on g7 is completely tied down for Harika. I do not like her position, by the way, here.
I just want to point out the last move by Harika was d5. You know, there's a bishop, rook, and a pawn that is protecting that square, and Harika's just giving up that pawn. She's saying, take it with anything, I'm ready to sacrifice.
For the
What's
sake
the
of
point?
activity.
For the sake of activity. So if pawn takes pawn, where's your activity?
Like rook c8 or something, and then you play do
Right.
something on the c file.
So you want the opening up of the c file. I still feel this is very dangerous, giving up a d passer.
Could be,
Rook
yes. But
c8 comes in. Okay, let me try with d6.
at least she has some initiative here, I guess. Like rook c3. I mean, you can play with for some activity here.
Right. But can we agree that Vantika is on the push here? She's the one with the edge.
Yes, for sure.
You know, beautiful rook. It's just killing that bishop that Harika has. I mean, Harika's best move would be to pick up this pawn and chuck it out of the board. But not going to be allowed to do that.
And also the time is more or less the same. So I think it can go either ways, but I think for now, Vantika is definitely having a more comfortable position.
All right, with that, let's move back to our Tata Steel Chess India men. We saw Hans get a quick win in his match against Praggnanandhaa. A quick roundup. We've got the evaluation bars right there. Murzin has the advantage against Vidit. Wei Yi with an advantage against Wesley So. Arjun Erigaisi worse against Nihal Sarin. And Arvind and Vishy in the balance right now. Sahaj, let's check out Vidit's board. He's currently on 1.5 as well out of 2. He's playing against Murzin, who's yet to get on the scoreboard.
Oh yes, and looks like he has launched a massive attack on the king side as well. But I see there are some problems on the clock for Murzin because he has less than a minute. But on the board, I feel white's pieces are more developed. You have the double bishop advantage. And there
this is
not
a crazy position, right? With these 3 pawns here for black. I mean, I haven't seen this sort of a setup very often. The F line open, pressure on F3.
But what do you do with it? Like you can't play g3, you can't play h3. It just feels like you just have to keep the pawns as it is. I'm not so sure if there is any serious attack here anymore for Vidit.
Long term, I hear you. I see that Murzin has the bishop pair. You know, this could actually turn out to be a weakness. You have ideas like rook d3, putting the rook on a more active square. And what Vidit has set up is to try to trade the light squared bishop with bishop e6, or maybe even the knight jumping in and eyeing this f4 square.
If the knight joins to f4, then yes, this could become a very dangerous position. But and I love actually with its last move with this
Knight
knight
d8.
d8.
It's actually very nice because it's a very counterintuitive move, right?
Yes.
It's not something, this knight retreat. Let's do an action replay of this. Bringing the knight back, putting another piece in the way of connecting your rooks, but with the idea of getting your bishop out. The blue arrow points out it is indeed the best move in the position after rook to d3, and Vidit plays it. That is actually...
No, he goes knight e6. think still interesting, but maybe it allows white to play rook d5 and to attack that pawn on e5. Is that possible?
So you're saying rook d5, and if you just simply defend that pawn with your queen?
Then I can go pawn takes pawn, and you're no longer pinning my queen. He goes a5, okay. Maybe he's not afraid of knight f4.
The only way you're not afraid of knight f4 is if you're ready to give up your bishop for it. And then you're
That's
making
good.
the case that pawn takes bishop, h4 is hanging.
Yes, and if you go with the rook, then the 8th rank would be just completely loose.
You
I can go rook d8.
infiltrate.
Exactly.
So knight f4, not a big threat. With a beautiful maneuver, but had to put his bishop to trade it off, to connect the two rooks first. Alright, so Murzin with the bishop pair, the rook on the open file, and full control of Vidit's plan on the king side, looking good. Meanwhile, let's check in with Arjun versus Nihal, because this is absolutely insane what's happening in this position. What even is happening in this position?
Now, Arjun was slightly worse, but I'm not so sure anymore. I feel, okay, first of all, Nihal having only 13 seconds on the clock. His last move was played with just 3 seconds on the clock. And by the way, Arjun's last move was a blunder, which was missed by Nihal as well. So, a lot of crazy things happening in this game. If we can just show the last move of Nihal, where he went rook d8, he just had knight takes knight, and that was apparently winning for him immediately.
Oh, wow. So right here, knight b6 was the move played by Arjun, and knight takes knight, rook takes knight, and how are you winning here?
It wasn't, so knight takes d2. Knight takes d2 it was. The
Sorry,
d2 knight.
that's what I was... Knight d2? I thought queen d5 is a problem.
Maybe I just move the king somewhere, like g7. Is that correct? Or queen e3 check would be my idea. Oh no, actually. What's the move? Is
I
it
mean,
king
I
h-
just take the bishop now and queen g6. Why?
I was just looking
You
at...
want to take on e3.
Yeah. I was just banking on that fact, but there is a tactic we're missing here.
And here, knight takes knight. Okay, I'm going to cheat and put on the engine. Knight takes knight. And the point was that after queen takes pawn, your idea, correct idea, but wrong square. King to h8. And the difference is that after queen takes bishop, queen takes pawn check, king h1, you have time, because there's no queen g6, queen h6 check. If the king was on g7, you have time to set up a checkmating idea of your own with knight f2, and this is busted for white.
Oh, yeah, smothered mate, yeah.
Now imagine if king is on g7, then white would have queen to g6 check and queen h6.
I think nicely explained that. I think this is probably what Nihal missed, because he had, what, 3 seconds on the clock?
Yes,
So he-
because if you don't calculate this, you don't allow queen takes pawn.
Absolutely. So he goes e4 and then bishop f4. By the way, only move by Arjun played, and bishop f4, and now another only move for Arjun.
Crazy.
Not easy at all.
Okay, e4 firstly clears up the queen. So knight takes knight would have landed queen takes bishop. And if you take the pawn on e4, white simply moves the queen, attacks the bishop. You've got rook c1, rook c7 coming in next, and it's really a game for 3 results. At this moment, Nihal keeps the pressure by keeping his pieces active and alive. He moves back with the bishop. Now he's attacking the knight on d2. If you take on f5, I think we're going to see this play out. Knight takes knight. And suddenly I'm liking Nihal's position. You know, the knight jumps back to e4. The bishop looks very strong. Ideas of bishop e3 check coming in with capturing the pawn on d4.
Yeah, I
This
think
is
that's
tricky. Bishop f4 is such a tricky move.
very tricky indeed. And he only has a minute to figure it out now. Only one move for Arjun here. There is pawn takes bishop. Otherwise, he is in deep trouble.
And if you take knight takes pawn, black will just give up the rook and then capture the other knight.
Yep, absolutely. By the way, Wiley thinks we have. Let's take a look at Vishy versus Arvind, because Vishy is about to score his second win of the day.
Wow.
That is huge, and he has such a comfortable winning position.
That's 2
pawns
extra
up.
pawns.
Yeah, b6 and b7. And just queen and two rooks. No sort of imbalances there whatsoever.
This was completely in the balance when we checked it last. You know, we felt that Vishy will put a little bit of pressure, but in a matter of few moves to have extra material, and very classy move here by Vishy. There's no back rank issues, creates a little loft, passes the ball, and it's amazing how he keeps doing this. You know, he's the oldest player in the field, but he's a legend. And he's playing against, he won his first game, he won the first round, draws the second round, you know, against Wei Yi, a difficult position, and then about to take down Aravind.
That's just insane what he's able to do.
He beats Wesley. saves the game against Wei Yi, and about to win against Arvind.
Wow. I mean, this is truly unbelievable what we're seeing here. I mean, just a resignation, yeah, by Arvind. This is just over, basically.
And Vishy has spoken about how much he enjoys playing in Kolkata. It is one of his favorite cities. He's played a lot. Madras Tiger for a reason. Completely agree with that. The Lightning Kid for a reason as well. I mean, it's been amazing. He's up by 2 minutes on the clock playing against Arvind.
Exactly. Like up on the clock, up on the position, up on the leaderboard. What else can you ask for? He plays b5. He's hoping that he will take that pawn on b5 and I wish he will have these triple pawns. But Vishy says, no, let's trade off queens. And I think Arvind on the verge of a resignation here. Because you cannot save. You can. Oh, by the way, we do have a result incoming. Vaishali has drawn her match against Kateryna Lagno. So I think a good end to an overall not such a great day for Vaishali because now she has half out of 3, but a good end regardless.
And there we've got our evaluation bars, and you can see there's only one board in which there's a decisive advantage, and it's the one in front of us right now. Arvind with 12 seconds. Only a miracle can save him in this position. Vishy, queen, and the rook beautifully combined, tying down Arvind's queen to defend that g2 spot as well. Any trades here, and black is still winning. Rook pawn endgames, black is still winning. Queen pawn endgames, black is still winning.
Absolutely. And look at that. Rook g5. He's saying, I'm not gonna take that pawn. You take my pawn so I can untangle my pawns, and that's it.
He could have been 3 pawns up, but it would be the tower of terror to have those 3 triple pawns. Instead, now Vishy with 2 healthy extra pawns.
Absolutely. We have a resignation, I think, coming very, very soon on this match. By the way, on another board, we do have another result, but we can say on this one, Vantika is completely defeating Harika as well.
Oh wow, that would be a huge win for Vantika. Getting a first round win and now the final one of the day as Vishy puts the finishing touches in this one. We also have Arjun Erigaisi. He's turned it around, Sahaj.
What?
He has completely turned it around and he is the one winning against Nihal.
No way.
Look at what is happening here. What is happening here? Arjun has a pawn on e6, which has gone to the 7th rank.
Goes rook 8, queen c6 now? Is that just winning?
That's a double attack and would have been the end. But Arjun here, he attacks the rook and Nihal resigns. Arjun getting the first win of the tournament for Nihal. He was the one putting the pressure in this one. This has got to hurt.
Absolutely. And I think a good, the first win for Arjun, but I think he must be having this first sigh of relief. Yeah, first loss for Arjun, for Nihal. And first win for Arjun on the same match.
Yeah, for Nihal, starting the day with 1.5 out of 2 and then going down in this game after, well, a very, very strong opening play and kind of dominating in that middle game, but Arjun swindling it and then finishing it off. He gets his first win. Let's go back to Vishy's game against Arvind because those pawns have moved forward. Nothing is stopping them from getting up, and I'm expecting Arvind to offer a handshake, and there it is. He resigns. Vishy, what a start he has had to day one. What a legend, Chad. Give it up for one and only Viswanathan Anand. Ends the day with 2.5 out of 3, taking down Wesley So, drawing against Wei Yi, and finishing the day with a win with the black pieces against Aravindh Chithambaram.
What a day it has been for Vishy. I think phenomenal. And by the way, Tanya, not to jump the gun here, but tomorrow morning, well, the first round tomorrow, he plays against Arjun. I'm just putting it out there.
Tata Steel Chess India, it's an action that you can't miss. But right now, there's action that we can't miss. Let's go to the Harika versus Vantika board right now, as it looks like Vantika is about to score another big upset here.
Yep, 12 seconds for Harika. That pawn on b7 is about to promote. She goes queen b2. And now some tactic. Rook c8 is not working because the pawn on b7 is hanging. She has 27 seconds on the clock to figure this out. Just take the pawn on g4. Simple. I think that's...
Keeps the queen connected to the e2 pawn as well. Vantika, there, little hesitation.
Just take the pawn.
She's touching the rook. She moves it forward. She places it on f5. A place you've seen. Look at this b7. I mean, this pawn will decide the game.
Oh, yes. I think she wants to go rook d7 and then rook takes f7. She goes f5. Rook d7 played and now f4. Some danger. Because rook takes f7, maybe there's f3 check. Oh, but the rook takes f3 is a discovered check.
It's a check. Rook takes pawn and she's reaching out for it. Rook takes pawn. I think Harika will realize she can't do anything now. f3, as said, you pointed out, rook takes pawn is coming in with a check and Vantika has spotted it all.
Yep, this is winning now, and if she moves the king, you take the rook, and okay, the pawn promotion is next. And with that, I think Harika will resign.
So Vantika getting a huge point at the end of the day. Harika trying to save this one. We see a trade, and there it is, resignations. Vantika finishes the day on a high, 2 out of 3 for Vantika, getting that first round win in and finishing the day with a win against Harika. Let's quickly get an update on the Divya versus Rakshita board. Right now, this position is a theoretical draw really quickly. There's just no way for white to make progress here. The pawn is on a7. It will stay there. This one will end in a draw.
Absolutely. But Rakshita must be careful to not move her king. If she moves the king anywhere, then it can be a check on g8.
All right, so we'll switch back to Vidit's board right now. And there we see opposite color bishop. Same endgame here. Will end in a draw.
He attacks the bishop. Maybe Murzin can try to play for a win here, but it seems a bit difficult.
So you have an extra pawn if you're Murzin in this position, but where is it even going forward? For white, the winning plan would be to try to get the white king to assist the c pawn and over to the queen side.
I don't know. I think Murzin can win this because king e3, king d4, king c5, king b6. I want to go all the way to the b6 square to attack the a6 pawn, and then suddenly I start pushing my c pawn up. I don't know how Vidit can save this. This looks like a pretty straight plan to me. He goes king e6.
So Vidit wants to follow white's king and make sure you don't get that path. Right now, he needs to defend the bishop. He falls back. The king comes in. And you're going c5, b6. So there is a narrow margin to defend this game. Vidit is saying king, you know what he wants? He wants to put the bishop here. Bishop to e6.
Oh,
He's going to make sure that you don't get your king all the way to b6.
So he played king d5 first and then c5. So now it's Vidit's move. So he has to move his bishop from e6 somewhere.
But he just keep it on that diagonal. He just keep it on f7.
But that allows me to play g4.
So you're making progress is the case.
Yeah, which can be a bit
Very
tricky
smart,
here.
huh? Very tricky by Murzin to first pass the move and then come back.
Exactly. Wasting a tempo. So now Vidit doesn't have like any move he makes is going to be a bad one.
It's slightly worsening.
Yeah.
So Vidit wants to keep the bishop on this diagonal to eye-line the pawn on c4, but the moment he steps back to f7, that allows Murzin to go g4. If Vidit moves it the other way, then the white king steps forward. So not an easy decision. And look at that hesitation. Vidit had his hand on the bishop. He instead last second decided to move his king. And Murzin was ready with his response.
Wow, king d4, bishop. Well, look at this. This is so tricky actually because now all Murzin has to do is push that g pawn somehow. King f6 perhaps.
And the moment Vidit's king has gone too far on the other side, Murzin turns his attention to get the king to assist the other pawn. But Vidit so far doing brilliantly on the defense.
Yep.
Comes
So
with the king
far,
to
I think.
d6. He wants to go c5 next.
Absolutely. By the way, another update. Wesley So has just defeated Wei Yi with the black pieces. So this is the only game remaining. Go c5. c6 check incoming.
You can go c6. You can put the pawn on c7 as well. But Murzin, he's playing it slow. He's just putting pressure move by move, delaying decisions, and that's when your opponent cracks. Vidit has to be so incredibly alert.
Yep, because if he moves the king, he was going for the king. Now I can play c6. And now I can move my king to c5 and then to b6. And then I can suddenly start looking at that a6 pawn.
And while it's still in the balance, the margin for error is going on reducing for Vidit. The path to draw is narrowing.
Absolutely. And look at the time as well. He has to be very, very accurate here.
So for Murzin, the winning plan is to push the g pawn, push the c pawn, and overload black's pieces.
Basically.
But for that, you'll have to put your c pawn on c7.
I don't think he should do that because the moment you play c7, then black can always play d2 and kick, capture that c7 pawn. Also, let's not forget that white has the wrong color pawn on a5. So if black manages to take both c6 and g3 pawns out of the equation, this is just a draw.
Right, great point there. He's trying to get the king to b6. One defensive resource for Vidit would be to attack the c6 pawn or even place his bishop on e2 so that king takes pawn is met by d2.
Okay,
Vidit.
bishop e2 I think is good.
And notice how he's playing moves with just 1 second on the clock. Don't pick up the a6 pawn. d2 would win the game.
Yeah, so maybe he can play bishop d, get the same position with the bishop on d2. That's what he wants. That's like bishop f4 is good now. Bishop f4 is very good now.
And he does it. No, he hasn't played it yet.
He has a minute on the clock, so he can take his time.
So what is the point of putting the bishop on d2?
I want to play bishop f4, bishop f3, and then bishop d2. That way your bishop has to move from f3 and you don't have bishop e2.
I got to show this point. So you pass a move, and only when the bishop is on the wrong square. Once again, the same problem with its bishop. If you keep it connected to the c6 pawn, then white pushes g4 and immediately it's a winning position. If on the other hand, you bring it down, there's no more d2 and you simply capture the a6 pawn.
But apparently bishop e2 is still a draw, because after you take on a6, black can play king c7 and take that pawn on c6.
King b5 and bishop.
And then bishop f3 back, and then you take. So very tricky, yeah?
Very tricky. The idea that we're looking at is bishop f4 is found. Vidit has to be very careful here. Bishop f3. He plays it, bishop d2, and it's still within drawing realms for Vidit. He can still hold it, but he has to be precise over the next few moves.
The bishop f3 was the only move in that position, and now Murzin has to play bishop. And he plays it, yeah, he goes for the idea.
What a spot. Honestly, Sahaj, brilliantly broken down by you. Bishop d2, and Vidit can still go back with the bishop to e2. He goes king b6, which is fine.
Yes.
King b, as long as he doesn't allow g4. Vidit has to make sure that Murzin doesn't get the g pawn up the board.
Yeah, this could be the drawing sequence that Vidit was looking for. Now he has an extra move. Now he can just shuffle the king around c8 and b8.
Now it's Murzin's whose clock is going tick-tock as he moves the bishop, but that doesn't improve your position.
Goes bishop e3. And now, okay.
He takes away the b8 square, and the moment he does that with no bishop on d2, I think Vidit has found the perfect defensive setup. He plants the bishop on a square where king takes pawn isn't possible.
At this point, I think Murzin should try to reroute the king from b6 to the king side, where he can try to push the g4 pawn.
And though this plan has failed, Sahaj, I think it's fair to assume that Murzin will try another plan. He'll try another path.
Yes.
He's not just going to say, you know what, you found the perfect defense against this idea. I'm going to offer you a draw here.
Yeah, I think that's fair, because he has nothing to lose. He cannot lose this, so he can play for as long as he wants. Bishop f3, okay.
Very confident hold, by the way, by Vidit. And we see a change in dynamics of the position. Every pawn trade. Now, your idea. If Vidit can give up his bishop for the g pawn and get his king on a8, that's all you have to do, right? You put the king on a8 and that's just a draw.
Exactly. I think what Murzin wants is he wants to play a6, a7. But the point is, the moment you play bishop, he goes king a7. Very, very smart move. Very important.
He had to stop it. He had to stop king b8.
But there is no progress here.
If Vidit's king gets to a8, he can just give up this bishop for this pawn, keep it on this diagonal. The moment the pawn moves, you give it up and it's handshakes.
Exactly. Nice breakdown there. So I think just wait here. Bishop e2, bishop g4, anything should be a draw. He's taking his time, 22 seconds.
And it's been a great day for Vidit as well so far, you know, taking down Arjun in the opener of Tata Steel. Second round, drawing from a position of strength, I want to say, against Hans Niemann. And now this one, a confident hold with black. He's found the right plan with seconds on the clock. He's in form, Vidit Gujrathi is. And look at this, beautifully done there. Last few moves of this game. You'll give up your bishop, you'll give up the d pawn, you'll take the g3 pawn. And that's it. It's handshakes. Vidit Murzin ends in a draw. Vidit Gujrathi on 2 points and Murzin gets on the scoreboard.
Wow, what a finish that was, and definitely not an easy one. But yeah, great day for Vidit. I think very good fight by Volodar as well. But this leaves us with 2 leaders in the open section, Tanya.
You called it, there it is. And I wonder if someone predicted 2 leaders in the open section at the end of the day, Sahaj.
Yep, you did. I have to give it to you. But look at that. Vishy and Hans leading the charge with 2.5 out of 3. What a day it has been for both of these players.
And I'm also going to call out that I think at the start of the day, these were the 2 storylines that we were most excited about. Seeing Vishy here and seeing Hans here as well.
Absolutely.
So they are saying, you know, we're ready to bring on the fight here. 2.5 points. And then we've got Wesley and Vidit with 2 points apiece. Nihal, Pragg 1.5. And then we can see on the leaderboard in the men's section that each player, each of the points are separated only by a half a point margin. So a very close fight ending day 2. Day 1, nobody's running away. Let's have our standings up one more time to take a look at that. And on the women's section, it's a different story. I did predict 2 leaders at the end of the day in that, but it's the youngster from the United States, Carissa Yip, at the top, at the pole position.
Absolutely. And I think it has been a great day for Carissa Yip so far. 2.5 out of 3. She has defeated Stavroula, she drew to Rakshita, and then she defeated Aleksandra Goryachkina with the white pieces, which is huge. And then we have Nana, Kateryna, and Vantika on 2 points. And then we have again 1.5, then we have 1 point, and then we have half point, with Vaishali. That I think is the biggest, surprise for me, Vaishali, at the bottom of the leaderboard. What are your thoughts on that?
Completely agree with you. I think for Divya and Vaishali to find themselves at 9th and 10th is not something that many would have predicted here. But again, it's only day one. There's a lot of chess left to be played. And coming back to what we saw in the men's section there, Hans Niemann, Vishy at the top of the leaderboard. I mean, Hans has got to be so incredibly happy with the way he played and finishing the day with a win against Praggnanandhaa. So, Saj and I thought we'd break it down, but who better to break it down than Hans himself?
We have Grandmaster Hans Niemann from the USA. Dream start for you, 2.5 out of 3.
Yeah, certainly started well. To beat Pragg like that was a bit unexpected, but I knew this line quite well. I had a classical game, similar continuation. I think at Grenke, I think in 2024. So.
So you won.
Yeah, no, I won quite smoothly in the same line. I guess most people after a5 play a4, but after knight c3, bishop e2, I developed all my pieces. So I don't like the line for black.
Are you happy about bishop e6, the sacrifice?
Yeah, bishop e6 was obviously a great move. I could have played g4, knight h4, tick, and then bishop e6, but there was no reason to do anything. It worked quite dumb. Like if you played fe, knight c7, queen b8, knight c7 check, king f8, and then now I have g4. And it has quite a few problems, yeah.
And overall, 2 wins with white, 1 draw with black. Perfect start.
Yeah, I guess I was a bit shaky against Vidit, but my wins were relatively dominant, so it's certainly a good start.
And overall, how are you liking your in India and Kolkata?
I know it's good so far. I got a bit sick last time in Goa, so I feel good now and hope the good luck continues.
Thank you and all the best tomorrow.
Thank you.
A solid, perfect start there by Hans Niemann, 2.5 out of 3. And aside, something's got to be said, right? With the white, you push, with black, you hold, and that's exactly what he did today. 2 wins with white and a draw with black.
I think it has been a spectacular day for him, but again, not unsurprising. Yeah, Hans he's used to doing things like that.
Hands down, a great performance by him. And he also mentioned this yesterday at the opening ceremony that he really is enjoying Kolkata being cold right now. It's not something, I think that's something that surprised all of us. But for Hans in Goa when he was in India last, it was a bit of a hot, humid weather. So really liking the vibe more in Kolkata. And I think we can see that in his chess.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been to Kolkata many times and it has never been this cold before. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving it.
Kolkata. All right, I'll stop with all of those. But Hans Niemann, Vishy, Anand, they finished the day at the top. It's Carissa Yip in the women's who is in pole position, but it's only day one. We've got 2 more days of rapid coming up. Said before we wrap up, one more time, I'm going to go to you, leave the floor to you. What was the highlight of the day for you? Was there a particular game or a moment that stands out?
I still think Divya, I think pushing that game for sure was a highlight for me in that sense, yeah. Because I think it was the longest game of today for in that sense. And also Harika kind of holding it down was pretty impressive. And what about you?
So Sahaj going for the content here in this one. I think for me, the one that stands out, and I'd love to hear it from chat as well, what you guys thought, what was the highlight for you. But the one that stands out to me is Hans Niemann's king march. I think getting that king all the way from G1, all the way across with the queens and the rooks on the board to G7, and then forcing resignation with a move like king to G7. You know, when there are all the majors on the board, was pretty impressive.
Have to say, yeah. I agree. Close second for me, yes.
Well, what a day of chess it has been here at the Dhanodanya Auditorium. And it's only day one of the Tata Steel Chess India. More action coming up tomorrow. This has been awesome chat. We'll catch you here, same time, same place tomorrow. Have a good evening. Be kind to each other. We'll see you then.